distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all, and thank you for tuning in to our live broadcast. My name is Jassim Sbe'i, and it brings me great pleasure to welcome you to the third edition of the QDB Investment Forum. For those of you watching us on Zoom, I would like to remind you that an Arabic translation is available through the interpretation option. This year, which marks the forum's first virtual edition, the theme is Business Transformation and Growth, and in this context, we look forward to a morning of exchange, learning, and investment in some of our great companies who will be presenting their ventures to investors during today's session. Today's event is brought to you by QDB with the support of our strategic sponsor, the investment promotion agency Qatar, Invest Qatar. We would also like to thank all our sponsors and our forum partners for helping us put together yet another fruitful edition of the Investment Forum. And we hope that you walk away today feeling more informed and empowered to take your success to the next level and take part in the advancement of Qatar's investment landscape and the evolution of its economy. With that said, let us begin our program for this edition of the Investment Forum, and who better to set the tone of today's event and tell you about the achievements of Qatar Development Bank and its investment department in supporting the innovations ecosystem in Qatar than our esteemed CEO. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Khalifa to the studio.
الصحة والعافية. I'm very proud فيك وفي الشباب اللي شغالين معك بنك قطر للتنمية، أخوي محمد العمادي واختي فاطمة المفتاح والإخوان كلهم اللي قائمين على هذا البرنامج وعلى هذه الفعالية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear all, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to QDB Third Annual Investment Forum. I would like to extend a special greetings to our guests from the international investment community and the local public and private sector, whose participation makes a tremendous difference in the success of this distinguished event, as we build on the success of its previous edition, which witnessed the attendance of more than 400 investors and 12 participating startups from Qatar and beyond. The Investment Forum continues to play an important role in advancing the innovation ecosystem in Qatar and serve as a platform for our wider business community to network around the new growth opportunities, for our entrepreneurs to pursue fruitful partnership, and for international investors to harness the potential of Qatar's thriving economy as a launchpad for their growth into the region. This year, we couldn't have picked a better theme than business transformation and growth to take center stage in the evolution of national and global economies and in achieving sustainable development across sectors and industries. And together, through the forum's proceedings, we will discuss the various challenges facing entrepreneurs and private enterprises today, explore innovation, growth hacking tools and ideas, as well as help define the collaborative business partnerships that will shape the future of our economies and collectively achieve growth, sustainability, and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that Qatar is one of the most prominent investment destinations in the region for both local and foreign investors, with some of the most promising growth opportunities across sectors and industries. Building on its resilience economic foundation, state-of-the-art infrastructure, global connectivity, and vast resources, Qatar offers investors a rich range of privileges which doing business in the country. This includes an integrated investment ecosystem with diverse businesses and licensing platforms, a competitive taxation and regulatory environment, a highly skilled talent pool, a diversified culture, and many more. These advantages are reflected in the various regional and global ranking that Qatar continues to command. Not only is the country's economy considered the 10th most competitive economy worldwide and the first in the Arab world for investment security, the World Bank Group now ranks Qatar as one of the top 20 global business environment improves. Moreover, and thanks to the relentless efforts of Qatar Development Bank and the relevant national institutions, Qatar has continued to build strong entrepreneurial sector and a competitive business climate. Qatar ranks third globally and first in the MENA region in the National Entrepreneurship Context Index, in ECI, according to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, GEM. And that GEM report is for 2019-2020. But that's not all we've been able to achieve since we've met together last year. Despite the challenging global backdrop of 2020, when the coronavirus outbreak started, Qatar Development Bank response was not only swift and agile, but was well integrated within the state's national measures to support the private sector and the entrepreneurs and the wider economy. From delaying SMEs loan repayment without interest and fees, and introducing an entire suite of business continuity focused virtual consultation services, to launching the Qatar 5 billion National Guarantee Program and establishing the Revive program to help small and medium enterprises thrive in a post-COVID economy. This year, we also launched the first cohort of the Qatar FinTech Hub with more than 20 companies from 10 different regions from across the globe participating in the incubation and acceleration programs, laying a strong foundation for the next FinTech success stories and further positioning Qatar as a leading FinTech hub in the region and globally. Qatar Financial Technology Hub is bringing the best global opportunities and expertise to FinTechs through its collaboration with renowned international stakeholders, including Microsoft as the technology partner, Evershield as the legal partner, and Cambridge Spark as one of the academic partners, in addition to a number of international media partners such as CNN, Bloomberg, and Reuters. Dear friends, today we have more than 30 companies in the portfolio and 7 international funds invested in through our Fund of Funds program within QDB. Qatar Development Bank support is extended to all our portfolio companies. Last but certainly not least, we have developed a dedicated digital platform for the investment forum, through which investors and VCs can learn more about the participating startups, in addition to other promising startups, and schedule one-to-one virtual meetings with them to discuss and initiate potential deals. This platform is unique to this edition of the Investment Forum and is a big step in our efforts to connect high-growth startups with potential investors. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Qatar Development Bank, I would like to thank you all and thank all our sponsors and ecosystem partners for their valuable participation and continuous support. I would also like to thank you for being with us today here, and I wish you all a very enjoyable and fruitful investment forum. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulaziz, for your kind words and for your insightful remarks, and of course, your everlasting leadership. Now that we have a glimpse of what is to come during our event today, it is time to embark on an insightful panel discussion titled Transformation and Growth, Conquering Challenges to Scale and Thrive. As you all know, several key factors govern the success and growth of venture startups, from accessing innovative ideas, market intelligence data, and capital, to navigating regulations and talent acquisition. Our partners will be joining us via Zoom to shed light on how inspiring and established entrepreneurs overcome challenges along their growth journey and leverage Qatar's SME ecosystem to achieve success and realize their ambition. Please welcome Mr. Alex Wiedmer from QDB's Investment Department, who will be moderating today's panel discussion. Mr. Wiedmer, the platform is all yours.
Thank you, Jassim. Good morning to all participants and attendees. Well, I'm very enthusiastic to moderate a panel on such an important topic as how to remove obstacles for the growth of our SMEs and our startups. We want Qatar to be a player on the world stage in tech and innovation. We want Qatari companies to thrive. We want Qatar to be the better for it. We should aim to be the best in the Middle East, and ultimately, that's what this panel is about. Let me introduce my panelists. We have Hamad Al-Hajri, a very able and successful Qatari entrepreneur who founded and runs e-commerce platform Sununu. Welcome, Hamad. Thank you for joining. We have Hussein Abdullah, longtime investment banker, an entrepreneur himself, now managing director of Q Invest. Thank you, Hussein. Welcome. Joining us is Abdullah Al-Misnad, Deputy CEO of the Qatar Free Zone Authority. Abdullah is also an entrepreneur and angel investor. Welcome, Abdullah. Thank you. Finally, Julian Costley joining us from the UK rather early in the morning. Julian founded eTrade UK. He's an angel investor. He's a mentor. In fact, he was our keynote in a very memorable investment forum also last year. You got a taste of Qatar. You couldn't stay away. Welcome back. You see the wealth and the wealth of experience that we have on this panel. Well, we can't speak of growth without setting the stage and say a few words about the addressable market. Qatar is a relatively small market, as we all know, 2.9 million people. Now, if we add the neighboring countries to which our companies can expand relatively easily, Oman and Kuwait, now we talk about a market of 12 million people. This is 20% more than the UAE. It's more than some European markets that are tech centers, thriving tech centers, and it's starting to be enough critical mass for our companies. Now, Qatar is also a wealthy market, one of the highest GDP per capita in the world, the highest in the region. Second is Kuwait, in fact. And it's also home to some of the largest companies and institutions our startups should be able to partner with. And so the point is that the market and the wealth are here. How to harness them, how to organize them for the benefit of our companies, this is what we need to discuss. I would like to start with Hamad. Hamad, you're an entrepreneur on the ground in Qatar. You're scaling your company as we speak. What are your pain points in trying to seek that growth?
First, good morning, and it's my pleasure to participate on a very important topic in your panel. First, there is three main points that all of them is more painful than the others. Number one is the market size, which the biggest concern today. Number two is the access to fund. Number three is the talents pool. So when it's come to the market size, we always have this question: is it really small, or are we helping to squeeze it and make it smaller? So there is the area that we already have an issue with it. Number one, when it's come to B2G, in business to government, we don't have strong regulations or a law that support the startups, the entrepreneur to get into government businesses. We cannot have opportunity with the government. It's very difficult. I mean, it's a very long process, and we need to have 3-4 years experience. It's very difficult. So if we have a mechanism that we can actually solve a problem with the government and make it more efficient, that would solve, that actually will make the market even bigger when it's come to B2G. But also in B2B, we also have another problem. In B2B, we don't have the empowerment to let businesses in Qatar speak on other business in Qatar. We don't have either the incentive way or the regulation way. So both of them does not exist today. When it's come to B2C, and this is the critical point, here when we say, yes, market is small and we have 1.5 million, active, we have 2.7, but economically active is only 1.5 million. So if we solve number one and number two, both of them will actually create more jobs. Today we need more jobs. We need to create more especially white collar jobs. If we manage to build this regulation to create more opportunity in the country, more opportunity mean more high level jobs, which gonna improve the B2C market. So yeah, the B2C market is small market. However, when it's come to consumer need, there is our services, daily services, maybe there is, and there where we find an opportunity in Sununu. In B2C, everyday need people, there is market for it, and actually it's potential. This is number one. Number two, when we say access to fund, we have two problems there. We have in the equity side and also in the debit side. When it's come to equity, we don't have venture capitals in Qatar, and we don't have even a strategy like fund to fund from the government to invest into the country. We have actually a good initiatives with QDB, but even QDB, when you bring like investment banking like QDB, they're gonna help you in Series A, but who will buy you in Series B? Who will invest in Series B? You need multiple investment sources. When it's come to debit, it's very difficult. Also, very high rate, 7.5 average, while in France it's 3.5, in Japan 3%. In Japan, they even have a law. If it's priority sector, it's 2%. We don't have this mechanism to help even in the debit side. Last thing is the talents. We almost have very hard to find a good talents. I'm speaking from technology background. In technology, we didn't. It was very hard to find a talents because there is no market. There is no innovation companies. We don't have a market leaders company here. So this is the three main points, and I hopefully my other colleagues will have more.
Ahmad, thank you. You speak of the environment for the startups. You speak of availability of capital, and you speak of talent acquisition. And I think these are important enough topics. We'll come back to them. Now, let's go one step higher level. So, Julian, you work with startups. You mentor startups internationally. Maybe you can tell us from an international worldview what you see as the typical internal pain points that hinder scale.
Well, as Hamad said, thank you for inviting me again. I'm pleased to say it's just getting light here in London, so I may not need all the lights that I've got in my sitting room, but you can hear me okay. Hamad mentioned three things that can affect scaling, and I would put a slightly different twist on that. I would say constant access to finance, with the keyword constant, not just, I'll come back to this in a second, not just when you need your investor, but constant access to finance. The other main one is resisting diversification too early. In other words, staying focused. And the third one, as Hamad said, is attracting talent. And as you say, Alex, I believe we're going to come back to that one later. So let me just deal with the first one, which is how do you keep constant access to finance? Well, if you've already raised early stage funding and you're doing well, I'm addressing the entrepreneurs in our audience now when I say this, and sales are increasing, good gross margins, what have you got to worry about with financing? You know, everything is going to be fine. But actually the answer is very simple. Unless you change your payment structures for your customers and your suppliers, you're going to need more working capital. If you're clever enough to be generating enough capital, more cash flow than you need, then you're still going to need financing for innovation and to stay ahead of your competition. So my simple advice, four very simple things I would say that companies should do in relation to the financing is first, keep talking to your shareholders before you need them. It's a classic to only go back and make a fuss of your shareholders when you need them. You need a constant dialogue with them. The other is treat your venture capital or your bank or your angel investors, who have you got behind you, as if they are new investors. By that I mean keep having a constant story, a fresh story, a compelling growth story. Don't just conjure up a clever PowerPoint presentation. Always be thinking yourself about your potential market. The next is consistently hitting targets. It's such a downer in terms of credibility with investors and new investors if you're not hitting the targets that you probably set yourself. If you're underperforming, and also if you not showing steady growth, steady customer acquisition, you're going to undermine it. And the other one is you just got to look competent. You've got to be competent, intelligent, and be open with your board and with your shareholders all the way through. So that's the first one. Let me just say something about focusing and resisting diversification. And I would say I've invested in I think 26 companies now, but spent a lot of time, as you said, Alex, advising companies, mentoring and whatever. And the biggest mistake I see is that the first company, the driving force of the company, the first product, usually becomes a bit of a cash cow. And the first thing that companies do is say, let's use the cash from that successful product to put into 1, 2, 3 more products that are going to help with our growth. And the result is that everyone gets very excited. You tend to put your best people on the new products and take them off that. You don't look after your customers. And the thing that you became successful for that you're known for in the market gets diluted. So the result is you spread yourself too thin, you underinvest in the existing product, and what do you know, the competition catches up. And by the way, if the new products, the risky ones that you've started, don't perform well, you're going to lose the confidence of your board and your shareholders, and you're going to be struggling to raise finance. So what's the solution? Just to finish off, you must devote time and attention to the thing that is driving the success of your company. Don't dilute your resources. Keep planning the whole time. Keep everybody focused. And we don't have time to talk about it, but I'm a big advocate of risk management, down to the finest detail, the risk that you're not going to create the revenue for your core product, which that, and make sure always that you have the funding needs for the focus area that you're in. So those will be my key points. We'll come back to HR later. I know you want to cover that, and I've got a few points I'd like to make on that as well.
Julian, thank you. Thank you. I want to pick up on something that you said and that Hamad also raised, which we have to delve in deeper, which is this topic of availability of capital. I mean, obviously, to some extent, it's the lifeblood of companies. Some are successful and can create cash flow from the get-go, can finance their growth through their own cash, and that's fabulous. Many companies, especially tech companies, need outside financing. Hamad, I'm so sorry, Hussein, please, can you guide us a little bit through the situation in Qatar today? How do we make it better for our companies?
Sure, thank you, Alex, for having me here and for allowing me to share my thoughts here. First of all, I would like to say that, as you mentioned, Qatar is a wealthy nation. However, this does not mean, and answering Hamad, does not mean all the capital available here is directed and it's available for startups or venture capitals. So in Qatar, we have only a few banks or institutions who have limited capital directed to startups. An example to that is QDB, QSTP, and a few others. So the capital allocation is there, but the question is whether it's enough or not. In my opinion, this is limited. The capital directed to venture capital is limited in the country, and hence we need to think of new sources of capital. So if you think of new sources of capital, this could be, we are always saying relying government, but again, the government can do only so much, right? They can't do everything. Maybe the solution to that is we have in the country a number of, I call them champions. For example, in the telecom, we have Ooredoo. In the banking sector, we have QNB, and etc. and so on. However, they don't have an experience in investing as an equity in the startups because, at the end of the day, the license and what they do is only financing, right? So for this to work is, I would say that international venture, we need to attract international venture capital to come to Qatar. We have a jurisdiction and a QFC, which basically tailor-made to those international investors. But if we can couple what we have here, the champions I was mentioning, by allocating some of those capital, by having such a strategy in a place, this would be potentially a solution for the lack of capital, which Hamad was referring to, or maybe Julian.
Thank you. You say government can't do everything, and there's maybe sometimes an over-reliance on government. I agree. Government, though, is a very important piece of the puzzle. And there are things that regulation does well, and there are things that regulation can also do better. And I would ask Abdullah to walk us through this piece on the role of regulation in financing our startups and helping our startups in Qatar.
Thanks, Alex. So, I think the issue of regulation specifically is there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of, it's quite a big topic. I mean, I think historically there are a number of issues around regulation and startups onshore, but a number of specialized, let's say, regulatory regimes, whether it's QFC or QSTP or the free zones, more or less offer a lot of the protections that are required for startups to thrive. So I don't think regulations per se is necessarily or should be a challenge. I think there may still be some issues here and there around things which are, like around bank loans and capital requirements and these kinds of things, which may still be an issue. But let's say broadly, I think that issue has been more or less resolved. The role of government, though, I think extends beyond the issue or the scope of regulations. Given the role of government in the economy as really a major economic player, and even companies like Ooredoo and QP and maybe Kahrama, or Kahrama is maybe more government, that are kind of on the border between government and private sector, are still more or less within the governmental, let's say, either owned by the government or directly controlled by the government. So the government is a major player in the Qatari economy. They're a major purchaser and user of technology specifically, that they're really addressing addressing really big problems and very interesting problems. And so, from my perspective, I really see that the government can play a huge role by kind of thinking about how to buy things or experiment with products in a let's say more risk tolerant way. And that's, I think, it's obviously a big step for government to move from traditional purchasing and traditional ways of doing business to a more risk and more innovative approach. There are a lot of initiatives in the country that are pushing the government towards this, whether it's for example, the RDI initiative, which really is focusing on this as one of their main core areas, is how do we get the government to be a little bit smarter and more innovative in how they do things. There's a number of government agencies that are already quite active in this area. Maybe, I think maybe Ooredoo is one, which is maybe more private sector, but, companies like Kahrama, which is really a government agency, are beginning to experiment with more, let's say, early stage solutions to some of their problems. And I think that the role of the government in this space really is, given the availability of these specialized regulatory regimes, really the government now can play a big role here. This obviously doesn't cover, there's still some issues, as my colleagues mentioned, with the finance and with maybe some of the financial related regulations. But this at least is for me a real potential prize of doing that comes from doing business in Qatar, is this ability to have these really solid, really long-term potential partners that if they kind of, as they move towards more different ways of buying, could become really important vectors or catalysts for product development and innovation.
So you're saying because government has such a role in the top players in the private sector, or their largest institutions and companies, it should be easier for them to do business with startups and SMEs, because they have a facility to impact these decisions.
Well, easier. It's a two-way thing. So it's the scope of what they need to do is quite broad and interesting. And the solutions that they need are, so their demand for technology, if you will, is quite high. But as all governments everywhere in the world, purchasing tends to be more risk averse. So really looking for more mature solutions and looking for less able to adopt and buy things in a way which is useful for startups. So I think the challenge for government will be to shift how they buy things into new ways, and kind of, let's say, more rather than kind of having ultimately, rather than having a client supplier relationship, really it's a bit of a co-working that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. That's the only way this thing can work, and that's quite a step for government. But as I said, they're moving in this direction. So the different parts of the government is moving towards this. There's a conscious strategy to move towards this area, and we've seen already some initial successes or examples of movement in this direction.
And it's two important aspects, isn't it? I mean, I like this notion, you use this word co-working, because on the one side is purchasing, on the other side is paying. Large companies and sometimes governments as clients forget that startups need that, they need that payment, right?
Yeah.
And so in fact, paying early, paying quickly is the lifeblood of startups. Important to keep in mind.
I think we can solve the first one. The second one is a bigger problem, right?
All right. Let's move back to this issue of the market size. I mean, everybody touched on this to some extent. Let's try and figure out how big a problem this really is. As I mentioned, there are European benchmarks that are also relatively small markets that do become tech centers, successful innovation centers. And so what's with us here in Qatar? How big a problem is this really? Abdullah, would you take this off for us again?
So I'll answer this in the context of what we were just talking about in terms of government procurement. I think the interesting thing about Qatar is that it's not the size of the total market. Obviously, it's smaller than, we're a small country. We don't have many people. And there are always going to be limitations on kind of B2C kind of businesses. And given that, unless expansion is possible and we have to move outside of Qatar, but we're not the US, we're not India, we're not Turkey, we're not Europe. So that market is fundamentally limited at that step. But the converse is that the market is tightly controlled, or if you will, there's a few big players that are the government agencies and some of the big private sector companies that, as I said, have very interesting potential applications, whether we talk about in healthcare or in terms of the electricity grid, or in terms of, even in transportation, for example, where we have, a few entities that really have a lot of depth in the whole system, right? So we don't have multiple layers of governments. We don't have municipal layers and national layers and federal layers. We have one entity which is responsible really for the entire transportation infrastructure, if you will, or the healthcare infrastructure. And this for me, I think this opens the door for a very interesting technology deployment, meaning Qatar can be, and we've seen this here in the free zones and more broadly, can be a very good potential testing bed for specific technologies because you have that full system in place. And these technologies themselves can have application in other jurisdictions or other regions. So where I see the opportunity for Qatar is to really think on, I have a technology, I can deploy it here. It's going to be generally B2B or B2G, if you will. I'm going to deploy it here. I'm going to scale it. I'm going to get it's a good enough scale for that first, second, or third deployment, and it gives you the full. I think you can, with one or two good partners from the government agencies or private sector, you can get a lot of good data, a lot of good insights, and a lot of good experience on how this works. And from there, it can become a good stepping stone for other markets. So this is how I see the market situation in Qatar.
Thank you, Abdullah. Hussein, could you comment maybe also from the financing side, or in fact from any side on this question of the market size?
Well, I think when it comes to capital, normally the financing in this part of the world, or at least in Qatar for now, they tend to finance like hard assets, right? Except some interesting initiatives, which I think government are currently working on, which is the PPP, the public-private partnerships. I think such I think a product or such investments would be financeable, but at the end of the day, it's new, but I think there will be a source of capital there.
So you think that the fact that the market is small inherently makes some of the wealth go internationally instead of being inward focused?
Correct. It's a matter of diversification, and I would rather say, having a strategy of having a VC platform in Qatar, not covering only Qatar, but maybe going wider to the region, whether Oman, including Oman or Kuwait, creates better environment.
Thank you. Hamad, you're a B2C company. You're a B2B2C company. Actually, I mean, you've seem to have solved, you addressed this in your opening question, but you seem to have solved this problem of the market size and how to overcome it as a tech company. Can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yes, of course. As Mr. Abdullah said, no matter what we do in B2C, there is a limitation in the market, and this is the biggest challenge. In Sununu, we went with unique model. We actually have B2B part and we have B2C part to make sure we can actually take over the market and we growth as a company. However, the best model we have right now in Qatar, if we want to build a good startups in B2C, is to go international. The world is big and there is a lot of innovation in artificial intelligence, machine learning, a lot of technology solutions is waiting around the world. So to invest in technology and focus more as Qatar in knowledge-based activities such as technology and go around the world, this is something we need to consider today because, I mean, as Abdullah said, B2C have limitation. If we go with the manufacturing or any kind of startups, we're going to suffer there. So it's good to be in knowledge-based technology. Maybe Julian is going to speak after me, but we have a good case in Ireland, Stripe. Stripe bring almost $22 billion traffic to Ireland. I mean, this is how big is, just payment gateway solutions. So, yeah.
Julian, do you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, Alex, a really important phenomenon. I mean, whether a market is large or small, and this is the transfer of intellectual property out of research centers and educational institutes, universities, business schools into the economy. Obviously, you need a strong venture capital or banking capability to sit comfortably between these two worlds. But you're right. I mean, you can. I think Alex, you mentioned it. An obvious one is they all seem to have a valley on the end. Silicon Valley, Silicon Roundabout in London. They do become hotspots of that, and that's a really important thing. Spain, and particularly University, is so many of them are just really good at organizing some of the complex issues relating to equity. How much does the institution, the university, own? But sort of leaving that aside, I hope this is not contentious, but I don't think the size of an economy or the scale of the potential market should be a drawback. The problem is, I would say, it takes a really long time to make the transfer into a super externally focused economy, because it starts with higher education. And if you look at the Irish economy, which is tiny, sort of $400 million equivalent, billion rather, GDP, they've got about $250 billion, sorry, again, of exports. So that's about 60%. And they started 20, 25 years ago with massive focus on bringing the diaspora of Irish graduates back from all over the world. And the way they did that was higher education, bringing them back for doctorates and postgraduate education with MBAs. But the other way they did it was max tax incentive to bring all the international companies. So why did all the international companies, Google, Microsoft, they've got major centers in Ireland. Why did they come back? It's because the infrastructure was built. They have phenomenal telecommunications capabilities. So they thought not just about the people, the talent, but they thought about the tax and they thought about the infrastructure. And I would just add, one last aspect. Well, comparing the UK, for example, UK is whatever, 3 trillion GDP, and we've got about 600 billion of exports. So we're about 20%. So, I think I didn't do all of my research, but I think if you look at some enterprising small economies, you will already find that they have a high percentage of exports. And the last thing I would say, maybe on this, is you can't, I think, a number of us today have spoken about the limitations about, just the number of, the pool of management resources. And I would say one of the things looking at successful economies like Ireland in terms of entrepreneurialism is that they have a very strong culture of encouraging successful entrepreneurs, already done their exits, already made money, to engage in angel clubs, in societies, in organizations, and keep very, very close to the emerging entrepreneurs. So yes, the market is small, but yes, I think there are so many international examples of how to get it right. And, so I think, you know, obviously a number of those are being done in Qatar at the moment.
Yes. So we're moving to HR issues. I mean, these are you've brought us, in fact, to HR issues, which is a very important point for Qatari companies, which we should also dedicate a little bit of time to. I mean, I guess there are several aspects. There's the ability to bring in talent that is not found in Qatar. There is the training of homegrown talent. And then there's what you just said, Julian, which is to make sure that they stay. They've had some success. They've contributed, but they need to stay rather than go elsewhere. And they need to become angels. They need to become mentors. And so again, maybe on this point, I'd like to start with Hamad, because Hamad, you're sort of our real life example on this panel, you know, with your company at present. So what is your situation in terms of finding talent, of retaining talent, and potentially in training homegrown talent?
Thanks. That's very important questions. And actually, one of our biggest challenge was the talent. It's even slowed us down since we could not find even a senior developer in Qatar. The whole technology today in Qatar, we just imported from. We are the 10th when it comes to technology importer on Innovation Index 2020. We just buy technology from outside. We don't have our own technology. So here we have big challenge. What solutions we came with? We actually start hiring overseas from world-class startups. As example, Azada from Indonesia, a decade unicorn from Indonesia called Gojek. We take from Grab, Honestbee, a successful startup that have bankruptcy issues. We take from Kareem, Pakistan. So we take a very high level when it comes to technical, but also with knowledge base. Yandex from Russia, we take all these people from overseas and we bring them to Qatar. After that, when we went to Qatar Foundation, and this year we are one of the highest recruiter of Qatar Foundation, and we are the highest company in Carnegie Mellon specifically. We found students in Carnegie Mellon, they just waiting and say, grab us. They have no jobs because they are technology students and there is no technology in this country. You see from where I'm coming. So we take this young, fresh, and they are actually talented. I'm surprised to see their skill. We built a huge internship program within the company with 35 students. And within 6 months, they start getting all this experience from the international experience. And today they are very fast learners. I'm getting surprised. So when it comes to education system, when it comes to fresh, but what's happened in the past, they actually leave. They go to Canada, they go to USA, and this is this connection we have. Whatever we done, they just flew. They go to different country. Now we bring an experience and we make them meet their potential. And today we solve it within this way. What is the next? If I'm gonna build a new startups, of course, it's very difficult. I still gonna have to import from outside. But this is good, you know. That's meaning we're actually meeting the major criteria to make our market big, which more white collar.
Thank you. Good things. Abdullah and Hussein, you both must comment on this important topic, and I know you both have points of view. Who goes first? Hussein goes first.
Happy to. Listen, I think your question is a very very interesting question. I think finding the right people or the talent is a global issue, right? It's not a Qatar specific, or specifically in Qatar we have this issue. Maybe I'll ask the question differently following Hamid's comment. I mean, sourcing or bringing the right talent to the country is great. Maybe the difficult question is how would you retain them, right? So maybe this is one of the other challenges that people face here in the country. And I think one of those solutions is, which I personally experience, is having them like as part of the senior management, doing a profit sharing formula, typically similar to any VC type company, corporate governance and stuff like that. This would retain more the staff. On the other hand, I think we have a lot of fresh graduates in the country. Probably preparing them is a key element by sponsorship or internship and all of that, and training, summer trainings with the large corporates in the country. I think those talents can be better utilized in the semi-government and the private sector.
Abdullah?
So I think I think both Hussein and Hamad covered a lot of the main issues. But maybe I'll just add that I think when it comes to Qatar with talent, there are two kind of issues to keep in mind. The first is related to the depth of the technical knowledge, or the depth of the talent that we need, right? So when we talk about IT, we're talking about senior developers, we're talking about people that are able to develop in whatever languages that are required, and so forth and so on. And I think that's an area where, especially with all the university, we have pockets of technical depth in a number of areas. And I think maybe in Qatar more than the region, right? So if we look at some of the other areas in the region, the close by region, the kind of technical talent that's available there is more geared towards, let's say, traditional businesses or traditional corporations, and especially in IT, right? So we're producing lots of people that are very good at, let's say, IT management within a big corporation, which is a very different skill set from that's required for startups or technology development. And I think that's an area where Qatar has some strength because of the universities that we have, and we've seen a lot of depth in a number of fields, whether it's in semiconductors or in IT, AI, language processing, a number of areas like that. But I think the counter to that is where we kind of a little bit are lacking is in some of the depth or the breadth, that you need to really scale and take a business up. So it's not enough just to have very good technical talent, but you need a lot of breadth around that in terms of product developers, things like UI UX, things like even in technical marketing, if you will, which in Qatar or even in the region is a little bit lacking. And so how do you build this? I think you only build this by hiring from other companies that, as Hamad has done. You need to hire from other companies, and the fact that these companies aren't in the region makes it much harder to attract and bring these people over into Qatar. So, I mean, it's very hard to get somebody to move. And it's even harder to get extremely highly talented people to move because they have a lot of opportunities wherever they are. And so part of what we're doing as the free zones, for example, is really focusing on building this collection or cluster of businesses that really would come here and would come with their very specialized talent, because this seeds for us, we see this as an important move to seed the ground for the next wave of startups or technology startups, because you're bringing the people here, you're bringing all of that breadth, you bring all the product development knowledge, and that's what can we hope that for example, the companies we have that come to the free zone would be a great hunting ground for Hamad to go find his next developer or next product designer or whatever it is, and for other startups that emerge.
You need top HR for two reasons, really. I mean, you obviously for the well-being and the growth of the company. Managing growth is a very difficult thing, but you also need it from the get-go in order to raise funds, don't you? I mean, a lot of investors, maybe Julian, you could speak to this, but I know from my own practice that VC investors tend to want it all. When they invest, they want the management team in place. They know they may have to tweak, but they can't have to recruit 5 managers or fill all the key boxes. And so from this respect, it's something like a chicken and egg problem. So maybe Julian, you from your own practice, I mean, you must see companies that don't have full management teams in place. What do they do? How do they manage this?
Well, a few things to say. No, you're right that. Well, I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been raising capital with teams and investing in teams with fellow investors. I think nowadays, if there's something missing that's non-core to the business, like a finance director, well, I would say finance director, although it's critical to the business, it is the sort of thing that you could have on a high level for a couple of days a week. Marketing less so, and then probably technology, depending on your business, even less so than that. But just coming back to a point that was just made, I think one of the good aspects of the pandemic, if I'm allowed to say this, is that a lot of companies are now changing the way that they think of using overseas talent and capability as part of their management team. So the idea that, particularly on things like just talking about SEO, customer acquisition in a digital environment, if the management isn't abroad, the agencies could well be. And there's an increasing use of overseas software developers and whatever. So in that respect, that sort of takes the pressure. But if Alex, I could just make the point I was going to make about HR. I've been really lucky that I've done a lot of startups and built businesses for other people. And it really comes back to what we're talking about today, scaling. There's an irony in here. If you are growing really fast, you're scaling really fast, it's really easy to attract management talent. And the reason is the deal between the owners of the business and the management is all about making them look good. It's not about you and your business, it's about them. And if you can say to somebody, and I've been lucky enough to do this, look, I'm going to make your CV look fantastic in 3 years' time. Hang in there, stay with us, and whatever. So whether you're retaining somebody or whether you are attracting management talent, you've got to be fast growth, which comes back to the core of the panel. If you are fast growth, you will get people, and it's possible to keep that talent in place.
So thank you for that. Fast growth, yes, but you were also the first panelist to raise the pandemic on this this morning. So I mean, if the pandemic has also done one thing,
I think the good thing, sorry, I'm going to say it again. The good thing about the pandemic is it should never be the case, but the fact is, it's a bit like the UK housing market at the moment. Okay, government incentives, people are moving for that. But I mean, forget the word pandemic and let's introduce the word recession, global recession. Global recession is an environment in which executives tend not to leave. Depending on their personal circumstances, are you really going to risk? The other aspect is that recession throws up some really good talent out in the market. And there's another irony that if you get your headhunters and search executives to take a very broad perspective, there could be talent that's made unemployed in interesting locations around the world that may be more receptive to joining than they would have been.
Those are good and interesting points on the pandemic's impact on the availability of talent. It's done one other thing, though. It's gotten investors to look at the attractiveness of sustainable growth, even profitable growth, rather than growth at all costs. High growth at all costs, as it still was so well regarded, not even a year ago. And so this also to keep in mind. I want to end on a practical, positive and practical note. Qatar is I mean, we've raised a certain number of problems. Qatar is doing some things well. I'd like Hussein Abdullah Hamad, I'd like you to say what you feel is being done particularly well in Qatar to support our companies. And by the way, some of our audience are entrepreneurs who may not know that some resources, some very positive aspects are available. And so this is also for them. Hussein, may I ask you to kick this off, please?
Sure, I will start from the COVID. So I think the government here did a great job in terms of supporting the startups or the SMEs in general. Waiving for example, in the industrial sector, waiving the fees was a plus. I'm talking about electricity fees and the land cost and all of that, plus postponing the installments for I would say enough time. This was something that I would say the private sector have recognized very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree, Hussein. Hamad, please.
Actually, there is three areas where actually I do like to that the government is working on it, and actually it's outstanding. So number one is the talent pooling. I'm surprised to see the talents that we have. The education system is Qatar one of the best. The outcomes of the university is amazing. This is an area where you can take a very young and smart employees from early stage. Number two is the FDI activities, the foreign direct investment. Everything it's actually quite good. I really impressive about it. We have Free Zones Authority. We have IPAQ, Investment Promotion Agency, Qatar. So the good thing about this activity, it's not going to make it's not going to bring international coming to Qatar, but it will increase two things. It will increase the B2B opportunity and B2C side, because there will be more white collar, more people. It's actually make our market, the small market, bigger a little bit. So this is very good. And the third one is the QDB mainly activity. So QDB have three also initiatives. It's amazing. It's even more class level. The COVID loan. I wish if it's going to be like forever, but it's like incentive program, the loan and the way that they deal with the loan. It was amazing. Number two is they have actually a VC, and that VC actually one of the investors in Sinono. It's finally we are happy to see a VC here in Qatar. One is that we're actually looking for more, but at least now we have one. And the third one, the export agency activity. There is the import agency department under QDB, and we are still looking for more. It will support Qataris and startups in Qatar to export to different countries, not only product level, but also services and technology.
Thank you. Thank you, Hamad. Abdullah, the last word is yours. We have 1 minute before we thank you all for your expertise and experience and move on to the next topic. Please, Abdullah, if you can wrap this up for us.
Yeah, thanks. With that note, on that note, I mean, I agree with everything that the colleagues just said with Hussein and Hamad. Maybe to add that in addition to QDB, there's a number of other good programs, QSTP, for example, and a number of nascent, let's say, early stage investors, but still a lot more to be done in those stage A, B, and C. But I do think that I think the thing that will be of the most value to investor or to startups and entrepreneurs is looking at this new transition towards a more innovative government role, especially with the RDI Council and what they're doing and allowing startups to gain access to the problems of government or the pain points, I would say, of government, and to provide solutions for those pain points. This, I think, could be a huge value in these, especially for very technology-heavy, very niche startups.
Thank you all, really. We appreciate your time this morning. And now we turn it over to Jassim for the next part of the forum.
Thank you everyone for this fruitful and interesting discussion. I am sure that your insights will be great help to our entrepreneurs in their business functions, negotiations, and interactions. And now it's time for the forum's most anticipated segment, our pitching session, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Please stay tuned. This year, the representative of 9 companies will be presenting their innovative business ideas to you, the investors, in what could potentially mark a major step in their success journeys as entrepreneurs and a turning point in realizing their business ambitions. You can learn more about these companies and other startups by visiting our dedicated website for the investment platform, www.investment.qdb.qa, where you will be also able to set virtual meetings with the founders. Without further ado, let us start with this session with B Delivery pitching video to understand better what they have to offer.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Hussein, founder and CEO of Nahla Delivery, and we are building a delivery platform connecting merchants and drivers in a cost-effective way. Throughout COVID-19 pandemic, we are seeing a boom of customers' desire to be served at their doorstep with a high demand of reliable and fast delivery service. Meeting customer expectation is a crucial success factor of e-commerce and a rising operational challenge with the tight delivery windows, fuel costs, and compensations of riders or drivers. At النحلة, we are developing a delivery optimization solution, Fleet Plus, which reduce delivery cost and CO2 emission while enhancing efficiency and ensuring on-time delivery. Our Fleet Plus platform has gained attraction of several e-commerce and restaurants with an average of 15% annual growth and 30% efficiency increment. We offer on-demand delivery service, and we planning to launch our optimization solution regionally as a monthly subscription model. We are a diverse team with more than 30 years of operational experience, which enable us to create optimization solution that suits clients and drivers' need. We are looking for $200,000 seed fund to develop machine learning algorithms and launch Fleet Plus SaaS service. This investment will enable us to expand regionally, improve savings of our clients, and maximize drivers' compensation. Our Fleet Plus algorithm designed to predict demand, select the best driver to perform the delivery on time and cost effectively. Thank you very much for your time, and we looking forward for your investment.
We now have Mr. Mohammed Hussein, founder of B Delivery, live on us with Zoom to answer our question from the audience. Mr. Mohammed, a question from the audience is, developing and implementing such SaaS-based solutions require an in-house development team. Can you elaborate more on your team, background, and how you aim to sustain the product development going forward?
First of all, thank you very much for your time. As you asked about how we are going to develop our SaaS service, where our aim is to launch our fleet optimization solution regionally and then globally. So what we, as a team, we are keen to develop this algorithm. So from myself, first of all, I done my thesis of the master degree on the algorithm development and how can this algorithm enhance the efficiency of the operation. We have also in the team our IT engineer who have a very who have more than 6 years experience in developing the algorithms, and also our operational and general manager. She have more than 15 years experience in running the operation and understanding the last mile delivery environment. So in total, we have a variety of experience as a team, where each one of us will add to the solution, and the unique selling point for us is the algorithm which we are developing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed, for such an articulate answer. It's now time for Mazad Qatar to present the idea behind their company through their pitching video. Let's watch it together.
Good day. My name is Ryan Smythe, and our company is called Ebda Digital Technology. Mazad Qatar was launched after extensive market research. We found a massive opportunity and a need in connecting buyers and sellers through an online platform. Today, Mazad Qatar is proudly the biggest classified advertising application in Qatar. One of the services that we offer and provide is to help connect buyers and sellers free of charge without any commission. Our revenue model is focused around advertising, and Mzat Qatar's online presence has grown from strength to strength, gaining confidence in its users and achieving top results in search engines. After all our success, we are in the process and have decided to add an e-commerce shop to our platform, aiming to be the eBay of the Middle East. Mzat Qatar's unique selling proposition is that we will have multiple buying options such as normal listing, buy it now, pay monthly, and auctions. Why e-commerce? After reviewing the electronic market accurately in Qatar, we found that most SMEs lack the following to try to enter into the market: lack of online audience and visitors, only focusing on new items, lack of online digital marketing knowledge, slow turnaround time, slow or even no delivery options. With our state-of-the-art technology, we are able to remain a market leader in our industry. Our team consists of 75 young professionals who specialize in software development, sales, and marketing. Our founder is Mr. Fahad Al-Naimi, and our co-founder is Mr. Mohammed Abdul Fateh. We are looking to raise $8 million in order to expand globally and to become the #1 classified and e-commerce application in the GCC. We are specifically focused on looking to enhance our job listing, our property and automotive section, which has shown a combined online growth between 7 to 14% annually. With your investment, we believe, and with our technology together, we can take this platform to the next level and grow together rapidly year on year. Thank you so much for your time.
It was a well-presented video, and joining us for the question and answer is Mr. Mohammed. And that said, we have one question from the audience. Mr. Mohammed, growth and scalability for a marketplace are all about the potential market size. Can you elaborate on the total addressable market you can acquire locally in Qatar and how that would transform growth within the region?
Yes, first, I'm happy to be part of QDB Investment Forum. So let's start from our status. Currently, we have more than 1 million unique users using our app in Qatar. We have more than 80 million product stores in Qatar. So in Qatar, we have a very big market. Most advertising now we have is through normal listing. We have more than 200,000 advertised monthly on our product. That's why we are looking more to go in the e-commerce field. So we have a new service that's coming maybe this month or next month. The first new service we are going to bring is the buy now option. So user can purchase totally online, and we will handle the payment and delivery until the user house. Second service we are going to bring to the market is online auction, where our user will allow a user to bid on products, and the highest bid will win the auction, and we will handle even a delivery and payment solution online.
Thank you for such a detailed answer, Mr. Mohammed. Moving on, let's give our attention to the pitching video of Medfu'at, presented by its CEO, Mr. Nasser Saleh.
Hi, my name is Nasser Saleh, founder of Medfu'at. We started in Jordan in 2011 to disrupt cash payments. We became a national platform, and today we are expanding to a region with hundreds of billions of cash payments. The classical solution for banks was to connect to different pillars, which is costly and not efficient. Our platform connects banks to hundreds of pillars and merchants to provide online real-time electronic bill presentment and payment service. How it works? We work within the banking channels so the customers can inquire and pay directly, or using our app where they can inquire and pay using their bank account or credit card. We charge a fee as a business model per bill, and we share that fee with the bank or the payment service provider. Our major achievement was in 2014 to win the Central Bank of Jordan project to run and build bill payment operation in Jordan. From that day till date, we connected all banks, hundreds of billers, and many payment service providers. We have today more than 300 billers, and we have more than 3 million customers. We processed more than 45 million bills so far, with a value of more than $32 billion. The government, after they saw this success in 2016, they required all government to connect to our platform eFawatiircom, and we won King Abdullah II Award of Excellence in 2017. So our main competitor in Jordan is Cash. In Egypt, there is a company called Fawri in 2008. They are really our benchmark. In 2015, they were acquired by $100 million, and this year they became $1 billion company. In Saudi Arabia, there's a government entity called Sadat, and they have 95% market share. So our competitive advantage, we are a highly regulated company with an open platform that connects to different channels and provide real-time payments. So we have a huge potential in the region. We now have leads in Algeria, Oman, Palestine, Ethiopia, and Albania. We already started our second country of operation, Oman, and we are live there with the transactions. And we have now a lead from Algeria, which is a huge country with 100% cash payments. Our team is really our strength. We have a mixed team with long experience. We raised many different funds through our journey. We raised in Series A $5 million in 2015 and 2018 pre-money, pre-Series B of $2.3 million. We are raising now $10 million to expand and grow our business in Oman, Palestine, and Algeria, and also to expand with new products in Jordan. Now we won a lot of awards, alhamdulillah, Forbes, Ernst & Young, and the World Economic Forum. So our future plans, we are building our mobile wallet. We already took the license last month, and we are looking for remittances, cross-border payments, big data, and eventually to become a digital bank. Thank you, and we look forward to become partners.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser, for your insightful presentation. And we have one question from the audience. Payment is a highly regulated industry, and although you have support within Jordan, you have an aggressive strategy towards growth across the region. How do you aim to tap into the regulated regional markets?
Thank you. Like you said, my friend, payments are really highly regulated. We are really proud to say that we really built a solution here in Jordan under the umbrella of the Central Bank of Jordan, which is a very highly regulated country. And also we started also in Oman, and we also saw the regulations there. The good thing that most of the central banks, they share almost the same regulation, and we have very good experience in that. Also, we know Qatar is going really very aggressively in a positive way in terms of regulations, especially for the Central Bank of Qatar, and we studied the market, and we believe that we can really build our solution in Qatar and expand from Qatar to the world.
Thank you again, Mr. Nasser. And our next company, ASAP, a service mobile application that streamlines the pre-orders for drive-through and pickups at coffee shops and restaurants across Qatar. To know more about what they offer, let us watch this video together.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Hamid Al-Khamis, founder and CEO of ASAP Smart Solutions. ASAP is a mobile application that actually streamlines the ordering system between the customer and the caterers at your favorite coffee shops and restaurants by avoiding long lines, busy phone lines, or even honking outside. Before COVID-19, ASAP was a stadium-focused application in which we offered instant delivery and express pickup from concession stands by simply entering your seat information. But because of COVID-19, we did have to shift into the F&B market, in which now customers are able to enter their car information, pre-order from their favorite places, and get the order once they arrive by getting it delivered to their car. Before COVID-19, we were able to secure the MotoGP, and we're able to get more than 15 orders throughout the whole weekend with very positive feedback from the customers that used it. As of right now, we have signed with around 12 customers that are on the application right now, amongst them being Karibu Coffee, Flat White, the Lobby Cafe in the Hilton, Evergreen Organic, Robian, just to name a few, and we have a projected 20 to 30 in this upcoming 2 months. As of right now, by the end of 2021, we are projecting around 400,000 Qatari in revenue with 90 locations as well. And the market in Qatar is quite massive. There's around 3,000 F&B outlets that are available right now, with a projected growth of 14.2 million Qatari riyal within this sector. And of course, considering the times that we're in right now, there is an increasing demand for digital services within the F&B sector. We do have a 100,000 Qatari riyal grant from QDB Digital and Beyond, and today we're asking for 250,000 Qatari riyal to be able to, which will go into key hires, marketing, app development, and legal fees. The team consists of myself and my business partners, Mohammed Al-Khamis and Tariq Al-Badr, and on top of this, we do have an accountant, social media manager, graphic designer, and a CTO. Thank you very much, and if you would like to book a meeting with me, please contact me at my email. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Hamad. It's a pleasure having you today. We have a question from the audience. Well, we are very close to distributing a vaccine. How will this impact your business model post-COVID-19? Will there be an increased footprint within restaurants and hotels?
أولاً, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The pleasure is all mine for me to be here and to have this platform to speak. With regards to the question, I don't think that the vaccine will have a direct impact onto what our business offers right now. What we do think, though, is that considering the times that we're in today, people do want more digital services, whether there is a pandemic or not, because people are just kind of glued to their phones on a regular basis. So having an added service for people to be able to actually tap into is quite beneficial for the restaurants, because we're kind of keeping up with the times. And then as well, keeping in mind, we did start off as a sports stadium application. So if you would like to talk about the vaccine and how that impacts our footprint with, you know, what we're doing in our business, inshallah, for the 2022 World Cup, we hope to be also in the stadiums. And so with regards to the vaccine, that sector will be a little bit more impacted than what we're doing right now. But, you know, with the shift and how we're kind of cooperating, it's actually quite, we're kind of keeping up with the times right now. So it's actually quite beneficial for us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hamad, for addressing our audience's question. It's time now for Mr. Hamad Al-Hajri to present his venture, Sununu. Let us watch his pitching video and get oriented with Sununu services.
Good day, everyone. I'm Hamad Mbarak Al-Hajri, co-founder and CEO of Sununu. Sununu mission is to become global super app and the first ever Qatar-based unicorn, which focus on region and emerging market with a shared economic model. Our vision is to create economic opportunity in the Middle East through innovative technology where customer can buy anything online. We at Sununu are funding new channels to improve and grow local businesses on our platform by creating one-stop solutions with innovation in delivering, meeting all the need with well-designated loyalty programs and high support system through lower commission rates. If we will check the status of e-commerce market in Qatar, the current trends in Qatar show us that there is a high internet penetration and our users are seeking with more faster delivery. Quick commerce. Sununu is one-stop Q-commerce platform, which means 45-minute delivery. And customer can order from anywhere, anything. We use technology to provide solutions for all their needs, from fast delivery to third-party logistic with order fulfillment services. Sununu is focused on enhancing the success of business partners, associates, and customer while embracing our values of teamwork, respect, accountability, integrity, and innovation. Sununu team provide commitments by outlining their capacity and capabilities to ensure success. Sununu is growing, and to improve the innovative ideas, we need fundings. At the moment, we are seeking 20 million Qatari riyal. Your investment will help us to launch new product and keep improving our technology, as we at Sununu committed to introduce new services and product to our customer. Thank you. And if you are interested, book a meeting with us.
Mr. Hamad, thank you for presenting your company. Our audience is eager to know with this question: what is the actual addressable market in Qatar, and how do you plan to acquire a share?
First, good morning again, everyone. And the market there is a demand, and there is a demand creation. Market size is 9.1 billion real per year. And when it's come to innovation in delivering, there is no player actually playing in this area. There is area when it comes to food delivery, but also in innovation delivering and quick commerce. There is no actual player there. Quick commerce is different concepts include 45-minute delivery and the new experience of e-commerce. This is the next generation of e-commerce. So size of market is mass market. It's 1.5 million economical unit in Qatar if we exclude all the labors. All this 1.5 million is what we looking to be every day they need from food, from electronics, shopping, every day they need to deliver to them with the very fast and immediate delivery.
Thank you, Mr. Hamad, for sharing us such important information. Coming up next is Ember Medical. Let us stay tuned and watch their pitching video to learn more about their unique services together.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohammed El-Shazli. I'm the co-founder and chief medical officer of Ember Medical. I'm also a cardiologist and an assistant professor of medicine at Weill Cornell Medical College in Qatar. In 2020, more than 900 million telemedicine visits took place in the US, helping patients communicate with their doctors during this devastating pandemic. It is also estimated to have saved between $200 and $1,500 of unnecessary costs of clinic visits. Our CEO Shadia and I co-founded Ember in 2018. Our vision was to build a user-friendly, comprehensive, yet affordable telehealth platform to facilitate remote patient care for clinicians and improve healthcare accessibility for patients in underserved areas. In December of 2019, we launched our operations in the MENA region. In less than a year, our patient app was downloaded more than 85,000 times. With more than 450 active doctors on our platform, we have accumulated more than 25,000 calls in 24 different specialties. We've also achieved 11x growth in the number of new patients per month. We've received countless testimonials with positive feedback from both patients and doctors, mainly noting how easy and convenient it was to use our apps, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns. Now let me tell you about some of our features. Our doctors can manage both their telemedicine and clinic appointments and can access their patients' electronic health record. They can speak to patients through video or live text, write notes, order medications or labs, and ultimately receive payments. For patients, we made it very easy. They can find a doctor, talk to them immediately, or book an appointment. After the visit, they receive the doctor's report and any labs or medications ordered through our partners. Our business model is based on charging doctors a fee per call. We also have premium and elite subscription packages with more features and a smaller fee per call. After our initial success, we were able to sign deals with 4 clinics in Egypt and Qatar. We also signed a deal with Ooredoo, telecom company in Qatar. Their customers can speak to our doctors. In Southern Africa, we've signed with Entry Health to distribute our platform through their well-established networks. We expect these deals to generate a total revenue of $711,000 per year and more. Of course, achieving these milestones in such a short period of time is a testament to the dedication of our experienced and multidisciplinary team. Shadi has software and hardware engineering backgrounds with degrees from Iowa State University and UCSB in the US. I've practiced in the US and Qatar and have connections to many international prestigious medical institutions. The rest of our team have vast experience working for well-respected software and marketing companies. We've raised $1 million this year to get to where we are today. We're now raising another $1 million as a bridge to Series A. We want to demonstrate high revenue potential before raising an equity round. We believe that with this raise, we can demonstrate a revenue of about $1.1 million annually. Our next steps will be integrating with remote monitoring devices and electronic health records. We will also focus on integrating with health insurances and exploring white labeling to new markets. Thank you for listening, and we'd be very excited for you to join our journey.
And today, with us is Mr. Shadi to answer our questions from the audience. Mr. Shadi, over the past few years, and especially within the existing pandemic, telemedicine offering solutions have increased all across the globe, including the amount of funds, VCs, that are pouring into the space. How do you differentiate yourself compared to competition, unique selling proposition?
I think, first of all, thank you for having us here. And I think like our greatest edge is that most of people make sure or work on the technology itself rather than the user experience. And in such a very sensitive field like the medical field, the user experience of both doctors and patients are very, very important. And I think most of the testimonials that comes to us, to our software that we build, that how easy, how comprehensive it is, and that what makes it attractive. And plus all of that, we didn't actually compromise on security and privacy. So we actually always think about the user journey before just building like any software, and try to put for them the really nice small features that can help them through that journey and make it as easy, as comprehensive and as fast as possible. Because when the patients are in need to speak to their doctors, or when doctors are trying to find their patients and make the diagnostics, the software should be the most helpful tool for them, not something that they will hinder with and try to figure it out while they are working on. I think the telemedicine and the other tools that we are building will be the key to streamline and make the process of the digitization of healthcare in the MENA region and globally be a lot easier and acceptable by all the players.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shadi. That was very insightful. Our platform is now ready for Spanx, a startup company with online sport relation services. To grasp a full understanding of their services, let us watch their pitching video together.
Hello, I'm Mohammed, founder and CEO of Spanx. We are presenting two unique technologies, the immersive replay and the virtual advertisement. The problem is, now for producing this kind of content, huge investment and hardware installation are needed. What we have come up with is producing same content purely software-based. We are using AI, machine learning, computer vision, and cloud computing to do this. With our technology, we increase fan engagement and change fan experience. More than that, we create new era for sponsorship. We just need broadcast feed of the match. We eliminate any need for hardware, which costs millions of dollars in each stadium. So we can do this for any match in any stadium remotely. The first product is immersive replay technology. We can produce unique videos from eyes of players. We show the match to the fans like never before. We produced the first immersive replay in UEFA Champions League history during PSG vs Dortmund match. The only competitor is Intel TrueView solution, but they need huge installation in stadiums to produce same contents. So they have installed it in just 10 football stadiums worldwide. Our second product is virtual advertisement technology. With this, we can add virtual ads in sports events real time. Using our technology, right holders can have huge new revenue streams by selling different ads to different regions on one advertising space at the same time. There are few companies that can do this, but all of them need hardware installation in stadiums, including sensors, specific billboards, and specific cameras. Our first technology was just finished in beginning of 2020. And soon after that, we finalized our deal with Benfica Lisbon, RMC Sport, UEFA Champions League, and the UAE Pro League. And also, we are in close negotiation with some other big names. The market size is huge. It's about 10 billion each season. Our clients are broadcasters, clubs, tournaments, and leagues. Our business model is B2B. We provide the service to their clients, and they will pay us directly or through their sponsors. Based on our estimation, we will have $8 million revenue until end of 2021. Now we are raising $4 million for marketing our novel technologies, operation and maintenance processes, and developing other unique technologies. We have an amazing team, including 31 talented youngsters in different fields who make it happen until now, and looking forward to more great achievements in near future. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and welcome, Mr. Mohammed. And we have one question from the audience. Customer acquisition with the virtual advertisement product should be fairly easy, resulting competition. How do you aim to compete, and what would be barriers to entry?
Thank you so much for this great opportunity. That's a very good question. The main core competency of our solution is we don't need any installation. in the stadiums to do this. So we just need feed of the match to make huge revenue streams for right holders. The problem right now is convincing the clubs or leagues to investing in such of this kind of technologies to have new revenue stream is difficult, especially in this tough situation regarding the budget of the clubs and leagues. But we just proposing them the pure software solution, and they don't need any investment regarding the hardware that our competitors need about at least $2 million hardware installation in stadiums, and we don't need anything. And the only barrier that we are facing now is introducing our uniqueness and our unique technologies worldwide. We had very good achievements recently, and we had live tests with the best top leagues in Europe, and hopefully we will have big contracts very soon. In addition, we want to introduce our unique technologies worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. That was very insightful. As we move on along, Jim Kraft will give us a walkthrough of their company's services through their pitching video.
Hi, my name is Fabi Chiaramonte and I'm co-founder at Jim Kraft. When I was a child, I played a lot of video games together with my friends. And guess what? We still play video games. But growing older, we realized that there's a necessity to work out in order to stay healthy. And as many of you can probably relate to, finding the right motivation to do so can be quite hard. Now, with the corona pandemic situation, you don't even want to go to the gym. Food quality is decreasing. Well, all of that doesn't really contribute to a healthy habit. Fitness is not fun, but we can make fitness fun. We can create like a sugar coating for your workout. We can transmute the fun and the addiction that you know from the video games and bring it to the workout. Well, we can make your cardio time actual game time, which would be amazing. We are talking about two huge markets. The fitness market, you probably know, is already quite big, but the gaming market is even bigger. And we are merging these two markets and creating a new genre right in the middle. We are tapping into a blue ocean. We do so by connecting real fitness equipment to real video game technology. And we deploy right in the middle of it our platform that we call Superplay. It acts as a connection, but also as an app store for the content. We already created 2 games for PC and mobile. Well, it's important to understand that 90% of the market is dominated by only a handful of fitness equipment manufacturers, of which 5 we have already on board, which is a huge success. We have been all around the world. We have been in Europe, we have been in the USA, we have been in China. The people love it. We have built up 1,500 users, got on board some of the most important fitness equipment manufacturers already, and got on board even some multinational brands that you might already know. Well, our competition proves that the market is big, but they are only focusing on professional cyclists, which is a relatively small group. Well, we are aiming to open this technology up to everyone, to have a bigger reach, because we have our own interfaces that we engineered that the competition does not have, and therefore we can reach out to a much larger audience. Well, our business model works exactly like a regular app store. Depending on what the publisher wants, he can sell for a fixed price, a subscription, or as a freemium model with in-game purchases. But most important of all to understand is that we open up our technology to third-party developers for 30% of royalties so that they can create fresh new content. Well, our team is exceptional. We have seasoned entrepreneurs that already went through an exit. We have technical people, we have people who know the industry. And we are not only shooting for the stars, but we are actually planning to land on Mars and to build a colony there. Well, the company started in 2016. We invested around $4 million by now to create this technology, to create this core technology and get the first products running. Now we are asking additional 3.5 million in order to finalize our platform, to onboard third-party developers and to get to this growth stage where we think that the revenue will go exponential. Well, if this sounds interesting to you, to come with us on this journey to a new world, to a new normal, then feel free to reach out to us. We are waiting for you. Have a great day.
Fabio, thank you for sharing your startup story with us. It was indeed inspiring. And please, we'd like you to answer one of our audience's questions. Your key to growth is in onboarding fitness giants within your industry. Can you elaborate further on the success within the existing partnerships in terms of user acquisition?
First of all, thank you very much for having us at the QDB Investment Forum and giving us the opportunity to build the Qatar Tech Hub ecosystem. Well, regarding to your question, the big fitness producers and manufacturers, they want to secure us, to have us on board, because we help them to with their digital transformation process and enhancing their otherwise simple and stupid physical machines with a digital layer that is accessible nearly like everywhere on the planet, regardless where the machines are standing, and giving the fitness equipment manufacturer an additional benefit and an additional revenue stream and a better understanding of end customers that they would normally not talk to because they usually just sell to the B2B, to the gyms, but they don't really get to the end customer. And through this new layer, they can get to them. And this is why they are interested to get on board with us. And this is how we secured Precor or Samsung or big brands to come along with us.
Thank you, Fabio. Our next company to present its venture is Fate, which specializes in team management, player scoutings, talent management, competitive gaming event organization, and high-tech live broadcast solutions. Let us all watch Fate's pitching video to get more information about the company.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Majali and I'm the founder of Fate Esports, a competitive gaming organization that is evolving global esports and pioneering the MENA region. So what's the problem? 100% of the top grossing professional Arab gamers play for non-Arab teams. Number two, companies are looking for ways to connect with the gaming generation, but there's been so many examples of brands associating themselves with MENA esports and not reaching their marketing goals. And number three, professional gamers are forced to leave their competitive gaming careers and pursue more traditional jobs because of the lack of funding in the MENA region. And what's the solution? Fate provides these players with unmatched development tools and coaching staff, and our nurturing capabilities are rarely matched across the globe. Number two, our team of founders have extensive experience in the global esports, advertising, marketing, live broadcast, events, legal, and sponsorship industries. And number three, we are creating a self-sustainable competitive gaming ecosystem in the MENA region as we speak, through creating consistent gaming events for amateur and professional players. Now let's talk about the market size. Gaming is a $151 billion industry, with 4.4 billion of those which is in the MENA region. There's 2.5 billion gamers in the world, and esports has an estimated audience of 495 million people. So who's the target market? Elite competitive gamers and the worldwide top-tier esports audience, sponsors, gaming brands, and game developers hoping to advertise to the millions across the world. And how do we make our money? Through partnerships and sponsorships. Like all teams in traditional sports, the more trophies we get, the bigger the sponsorship. Number two, streaming and broadcast rights, ad space on our team jerseys, products and merchandise, player sales, transfers, loans, and number three, we provide live stream broadcast solutions and competitive gaming services, including consulting. And who's the team behind Fate? Myself, with over 10 years of experience in all aspects of video and entertainment industries in the MENA, US, and GCC regions. Omar Maaya, an attorney in the Dubai office of Latham & Watkins, and Hazem Bawab, the founder of UBA, a developer in mobile solutions. And what's our competitive advantage? We are pioneers in the region, and our team's worldwide ranking and results are unrivaled across the Middle East, West Asia, Southeast Europe, and Africa. We are part of an elite global gaming network, and we've partnered up with some of the largest gaming brands and developers in the world, and we were born online and are very effective in running our business entirely online and on the ground. And lastly, our traction. We've reached hundreds of thousands of viewers per month and have worked with some of the largest brands in the world, including Tencent, Bandai Namco Entertainment, and Kingston. Thank you for listening and hoping to meet.
Mohammed, welcome to our pitching session. There is one question from the audience. Multiple revenue stream models have been presented. Can you highlight the ones that you've actually validated and performance traction over the past 6 months?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. That's a great question. So actually, they might seem like many revenue streams, but they're actually 2 revenue streams and the rest are sub-streams. So in terms of the 2 revenue streams, we have number 1, the teams and the players and the talent, which is number 1. And then we have the events, which are focused, the competitive gaming events, which are focused on the MENA region. In terms of the players, we're talking about sponsorships on our jerseys, on team jerseys, prizes, streaming revenue, IP rights, merchandise sales. And then you have the events, as I said, which are focused in the MENA region, which we're also talking about sponsorships, ticket sales, streaming revenue. For example, right now we're working with the French League One to host an event in Qatar for FIFA in February, hopefully. So those are the 2 main revenue streams. And to answer the question, it is still a growing market. So the numbers are not very accurate, but in terms of us, in terms of our experience, over 80% of our current revenue, especially in 2020, is from the teams and from the talent management. So for today, in terms of fate, the players and teams and talent management is the more viable revenue stream.
Thank you, Mohammed. That was a very brilliant answer. Thank you to all the entrepreneurs that have taken their time to present their companies. I'm sure there are several investors who are eager to start talking business. We wish you a very productive engagement in the days to come. Qualified investors, please remember that you can learn more about each company and arrange a virtual meeting with them through the Investment Forum's official website, investment.qdb.qa, which we are all proudly launching as part of this year's event. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a productive virtual gathering, and we sincerely hope that you have found value and learned new things from today's program. Our 3rd investment forum concludes with a special 1-hour workshop on the global fintech investment landscape. The workshop that will commence in a few minutes covers an interesting area that has been an investor favorite for many years. It's no secret that fintech has brought about innovations that are completely transforming the way financial services operate over the world. In this workshop, we will discuss the key fintech investment trends, drivers, and our outlook on the future of this emerging domain. In closing, we would like to thank our strategic sponsor, investment promotion agency Qatar, Invest Qatar, for making this year's edition a success. On behalf of the QDB team, we'd like to also thank all of our sponsors, forum partners, and supporters who are helping us build such a robust entrepreneurial investment ecosystem in Qatar. Until we see you again, please welcome Mr. Hamet and Mr. Hussam, who will be conducting the workshop. Gentlemen, the platform's yours.
Thank you for that. So what we are going to do is we are going to break our session today into 2 parts. As in part 1, I have actually Hussam with me, who will take you through the work that Qatar Fintech Hub has been doing and why it was established. And in the second part, what we'll do is we'll take you through the fintech investment trends within the MENA region, but we will also do some crystal gazing by looking at a market which is slightly ahead of where the fintech investment market is in MENA, and take cues from that, inputs from that, and look at the future where it is going. So we'll look at the current rates and also at the future. So if you are aware, Qatar Fintech Hub has been established in alignment with the Qatar Fintech strategy, which was created some time back. And the strategy and the Qatar FinTech Hub has been established, and it is chaired by the Qatar Central Bank, and it is managed by the Qatar FinTech Task Force, which includes all the financial institutions which are part of the ecosystem, and everyone is supporting it. FinTech, if you see, is one of the most active segment which has been overall in the world right now. If you look at Singapore has really leveraged that opportunity to establish itself as the center of FinTech activity within the ASEAN region. Similarly, we think, and the thought process was that Qatar has a position that Qatar can establish itself as the key FinTech destination within the region. And from that perspective, Qatar FinTech Hub was established as one of the first initiative of the Qatar FinTech Hub. What was imagined, we will launch a Qatar FinTech Accelerator and an incubator program. Right? Now, this has been thought that there will be a parallel incubator and accelerator program that will be run. And the reason is you need to have the full value chain to support a fintech in its journey, right? That means you have to start from when a fintech is very small or an idea, and then you have to support it and take it to a level where the fintech has a minimum viable product and go to the market. Once the fintech starts seeing some traction, then you get into the accelerator program. Then accelerator helps them scale up because the product market fit is already done. What is required for the company to do is really scale up. Now, the idea was to not limit the program only to local startups, but also to bring out and bring in international startups. Because as I said, the idea was to establish Qatar and Doha as the epicenter of the fintech innovation happening across the region, right? From that perspective, what we did was we opened up the application, and the first phase was focused on payments. And the reason is very specific. We looked at nearly every market in the world. We look at the best practices. We look at how the markets have grown. And we realized that in any fintech ecosystem, the first market that really develops and which forms the base of other parts is the payments market. And Qatar Central Bank was also parallelly working on a fintech sandbox wherein payments would have been is going to be the first place where they will start. So we opened up the application, and in fact, I have done this particular program in multiple countries, and the reaction and the response that we got here within Qatar FinTech Accelerator and Incubator program has been massive. What we have received is we have got about 750 applications from 72 countries. So it is truly a global program that we are seeing, right? And from the 750 application, it was a good problem to have. We started filtering down, and what we ended up is a very intensive pitch session that was done to a jury with comprised of global representatives and all the key participants from our own ecosystem, which included different banks, which included Qatar Financial Center, which included Qatar Central Bank. So everyone was there as a jury, which parts becomes is the ecosystem. And we ended up shortlisting about 11 early stage startups and 12 mature fintechs. That means 11 startups for the incubator program and 12 startups for the accelerator program. Now, the good thing is there were many really good applications from Qatar as well. And we have got some really good companies that are now part of the incubator and accelerator program, which are from Doha. Now, if you look at traditionally, if you look at other incubators, normally the fintechs are very early stage, but the program application phase and the attractiveness of Doha and the region has been so massive that we have really got very mature fintechs. If you look at it, all the fintechs combined, which are part of the program now, which is about 23 companies that we're talking about, the valuation stands at, the total valuation, a summation stands about $500 million, right? And together they have raised about $100 million in funds. So they're really advanced stage. They're not very early where they have just an idea. All the companies, including incubator startups, already have an MVP in place and they're going to the market. Now, what we thought was one of the important reasons why this program can succeed and the reason why they will succeed is generating business. Funding is fine, talent is fine, but a company survives on getting business. So what we have done is the program is already on and we have already gone through more than 300 business development sessions. That means what is happening is all these companies are getting this opportunity to pitch to the top players within the country and from other countries so that they can generate business through the program. So it is not only mentorship, which is important. Yes, it is not only pitch sessions, which is again important. Yes, but it is actually generating business so that you become a revenue positive organization, right? And we have also done a survey across these organizations to understand if what we are doing is correct, considering this is a maiden program for our hub. And we have seen that there is a 90% satisfaction index that we have seen across all these organizations. We are still in the journey, but that's a good achievement, I would say, to have. Now, as I said, because it's a global epicenter is what we are trying to build. We are trying to build it as a hub for the region. What we have done is, in addition to local relationships, we have really created global relationships. And which is extremely important and also very tough, because when you're starting off, it is always a slightly difficult problem to really convince everyone globally that this is the place that they should partner. Singapore nearly take about 4-5 years to really reach that place. But already if you see, we have had about 32 partnerships that we have had locally and internationally. And these guys are helping our companies, one, get access to business locally and globally. Two, they will help our fintech get access to funding or capital locally and globally. Three, mentorship. From mentorship perspective, also we have local mentors and international mentors. And why this is important is all these companies, of course, are interested in Qatar as a place where they want to do business, right? That means you need to have local mentors who can help them understand the local market and help them build themselves within the region. But then, because we have got such a diverse set of fintechs which also have global ambitions, we need to create bridges that they can walk on and then develop all this that they want to do globally as well. So that's why that relationship is important. The other thing is, if you look at it, multiple countries today, globally, if you look at it, are competing to establish themselves as a fintech hub. That means not only you have to do good work, but you have to be really good at communicating that work to the market and to the world, so that the world knows what you're doing and the impact that it is going to have for not only Doha and Qatar, but also to the region and more to the world as well. From that perspective, when we started because it's a maiden program, nearly from ground zero, but we have seen massive increase in our engagement across all marketing channels, which includes your social media channels, which includes web, which includes television, which is the traditional channel. It's a 1400% increase that we have seen. We are just starting off, and it's a good start, and we are going to progress and continue working towards it. While all doing all this, and I was listening to other sessions as well, and we talked about that government should support, but extremely important is all these initiatives have to be sustainable, because it is not that the government can keep supporting an initiative all day long or for perpetuity. So that means the program should be self-sustainable. From that perspective, if you see, and the expectation, to be very honest, we had was by program, so the cohort 2 or 3, we will make it sustainable. But again, the traction and the interest across the globe and locally has been so good that we have already got a commitment of $2.43 million in terms of sponsorship. The startups have given equity, which comes to about 2.57 million in fintech equity. So the program has nearly already become sustainable for the next 2 waves, not only this wave, but the next wave as well. So that I would say is a good achievement that we have had. So I wanted to start because everyone was talking about COVID and the problems that it has had, but we also wanted to establish that within that situation as well, because if you see, the program originally was planned as in a physical program, people were supposed to come, and midway through when we were developing it, suddenly COVID happened, and we had to really switch. We had to convert from a physical program to a virtual program, and we made that switch. And even after we did that, we have been very successful to get the traction that you see right now and get the things going. And as we gradually progress, of course, as the situation improves, we are going to get to a place where we will also do it physical. But within this environment, I think we as a group, as a hub, we have been able to do a stunning work to get ourselves off the ground in the fintech ecosystem, which I foresee for a coming future is going to be a massive attraction, because anyways, Qatar is really strong in financial services, and fintech becomes a very logical extension that we would like to have to extend the work that we are doing within Doha, Qatar, and the region itself. Having said that, so that's what I wanted to cover overall from the hub perspective. The next point that I wanted to cover, and as I said, I am going to cover the fintech investment trends in the MENA region. But what is extremely important is, before you do that, to look at the global landscape and also look at an example landscape to see where we are, where the world is, where are we going, and what could happen in the future. From that perspective, if you look at, and what this particular slide denotes is that on the left-hand corner top, what you see is the year-on-year funding, but the rest of it is the funding that has been seen in last 1 year. And I'm going to go slow and take specific components because I also want to spend some time on the different business models that are attracting the maximum traction. Now, if you look at the funding landscape, the funding globally as well has been continuously on a rise, right? Only because of COVID, the 2020 is expected to be slightly muted. The growth or the trend expected to be slightly muted. But globally as well, we are seeing that the risk capital is moving because of the situation we are in more towards funding more established businesses. So the companies that have really established themselves from product market fit have got market traction and everything, right? But we think things will change. Purely from geographical reason, also if you see, if for last 1 year, the total funding which was raised, about 45% of that funding has gone to United States. So United States becomes one of the most developed markets, so to say, from fintech perspective. But then you have India, you have UK, you have China, and then I can club everything into an ASEAN region, and Europe as well has been areas that have really attracted massive amount of venture capital money in the fintech segment. And what is a good way to look at it is for these markets, and specifically I would say the United States, the India, the United Kingdom, China is a very unique market space, but say the Singapore market, which is the APAC region, is a very attractive place to look at to also redirect or realign the approach that we are having in the region and in Qatar to understand how other markets have grown. We are in a place where we really can look at other markets and learn of what could be the new feature, what can be done more, where do we start, how do we build upon it, what are the challenges they have faced, which we can really avoid, both from policy perspective, from demand perspective, from capital perspective, and from growth perspective as well. Now, if you look at it, the funding, and we have been discussing the funding scenario and landscape within the ecosystem as well, the funding can be broken down into 3 parts. So the first one is the seed stage funding. So these are the real risk takers. They'll put in money when the idea is not proven, the team may not be proven, and that's the main risk capital that comes in. Then there is an early stage where the idea has an MVP, it has a product market fit, and it was to go beyond it. Then there is a late stage, which is mostly money coming to scale up a proven business. From that perspective, if you look at globally as well, the seed stage is primarily dominated by the accelerator. So Y Combinator, Techstars, 500 startups, and that's wherein the concept of what I spoke about, Qatar FinTech Hub incubator program comes in, right? So that's the stage where the incubator is coming in, is really nurturing those startups, right, to support them. Then at the early stage, you have the accelerator setup, but you also have the venture capitals coming in, and so to say, our own government and rest of the ecosystem as well is working in that direction, where we are trying to mobilize money not only from a government but also from private venture capital firms locally and globally as well. And then you have the late stage funding, and once the company really grow, that money comes in, which I think we are slightly at an early stage as far as Doha goes, but that's the place where we'll start seeing company coming in. If you see on the right hand side, I've just listed down some funding rounds, and what I want to highlight there was the key models that will stand out there, and we'll speak a lot about the models here, because these models have proven very successful in multiple geographies and can give us a clue of how things are going to progress. If you look at that chart, what you will primarily see is you have the lending companies, you have the payment companies, you have the super apps which are doing everything around payment lending, so they provide the entire financial services setup, and then you have neobanks. So that has been the flavor for last 1 year. So if you look at it, the flavor has been primarily the neobanks, the payment companies, which is a late stage kind of funding for that. Then you have the lending companies. Then you have the platform players, which are doing really, really well. And I think if you look at by the grouping as well, it is also illustrated in that set. What you have is the top number by amount of funding raised last year is payments. Then you have alternate lending, because capital requirement at all levels of economy always exist. The thing is, people who have good credit score are always going to get funds. And when I say good credit score, that means they have a history of taking loans and repaying loans on time. And that's what makes it very reliable to lend to them. And that is the traditional data which is available. Alternate lending is that there might be people who actually have the capacity to pay back loan, also have the intent to pay back loan, but it is only that they do not have a data or a history to prove that they have the capacity and the intent to pay back. And that's where these lending companies have come in, because these people have been denied funding, which could be an SME or retail, by traditional players. And that's where the alternate lending comes in, where they say, let me use alternate data. And I have seen all types of alternate data being used to actually identify what the credit worthiness of a particular company is, of a company or a individual is, and the company is based on that lending. The next one, very interesting, is banking tech. Now, not only you have a lot of fintechs which are getting into the market and in some cases taking away market from the incumbents, but the incumbents are not standing still. And when I say incumbents, these are your traditional financial institutions, and in this case, these are traditional banks. Now they are not standing still. They also understand that they have to change with times, and how they are progressing is either they are going to build that technology in-house or they are going to look out for the technology. And there are multiple fintech companies which are providing these technologies to these banks. And for that technology or that set of technology which are sold by a fintech organization to the bank are called banking techs. And that's why it is going really, really fast, because banks are also innovating. The next one is investment tech. And I will, on the next page, actually do a small amount of crystal gazing. I'll take the example of India as a market and show you that in the entire timeline within fintech, how the business models have changed and how the funding for them has changed, and what the progress or evolution has been looked like. And I think it's extremely important, and I'll talk about that on that page. The next page is because we are at a certain stage and we are pretty much following the same evolution which India has seen. I'll just take an example because I really understand that market really, really well. But if you have also looked at US, I have looked at the other markets, including UK as well. And the story is not very dissimilar to what you see in India market. So I'll just take that as an example. So whenever you are done with, say, banking, the payments and the lending, the next immediate thing which sees a lot of uprise is your insurance and the wealth tech. And that's why the insurance and wealth tech comes in. And now what you see is normally people or entrepreneurs are trying to solve problems that they see, correct? And the retail world or the retail financial services world is the world that we mostly interface with and really see. So that's why the first steps of innovation generally come in the retail market, right? Is the individual's market. And then the immediate next path, which is slightly more difficult to crack but more sticky, is the SME market, which is the B2B market. And on all these areas, it started with the retail, but then the B2B flavor is coming in. I'll quickly switch to the next page, and it paints a very, very beautiful picture as far as the years go and the business model evolution goes, and I'll take you through them, right? Now, if you look at from 2014 was the phase of payments. Multiple companies which came in were offering payments solutions and in some way the investment solutions for the retail buyers, right? And these payment companies started from everything. There were payment gateways, there are payment aggregators, there are wallets, there are other players as well. And within that, there are nuances. For example, not only India, but the other countries as well started as closed loop wallets. That means wallet was limited to a certain set of users. But at the end, everything is going to end with saying that all the wallets should be interoperable. It is going to be the end, because customer in the end is going to be extremely unhappy if he takes a wallet to a shop and says, I want to pay with this wallet. And the shop guy says, sorry, I'm not on this particular wallet. Or similarly, you want to transfer money to your friend and the friend says, oh, you're on that wallet, I'm on the other wallet. It is going to be a problem. So the QR code based payment or the wallet payment, how it has progressed within payments as well, is we started with the payments on the aggregator bit, on the P2P payment bit, P2M payment bit, but we have progressed progressively towards having a very interoperable ecosystem where payments can be done from one wallet to another wallet. Money can be transferred from bank for cash into the wallet and then cash out from wallet back to the bank. And therein, I think globally, the real-time payment system has played a large role, and the growth has been clearly seen in India in the form of UPI, which is the Unified Payment Interface. The same growth trend is being seen in Singapore. The same trend is being seen in US, where they're coming up with faster payments, and the same trend is in UK, any which ways. So within payment as well, it started with these small pools that everyone tried to corner with their wallets and their solutions, and then the pools slowly started becoming interoperable, and this entire journey was further supported with the e-commerce rise which happened, because on the e-commerce it started with cash on delivery, but as you understand, slowly and steadily everything starts moving, and at least we as fintech people want it to move from cash to digital payments. That's wherein your gateways, aggregators also came in, that became the spinal cord or the bottom or the foundation of the entire journey.
as the payment was progressing, and as you would know, as payment keeps progressing, it becomes more competitive, it becomes commoditized, and that way the margins start decreasing. And if you look at the most successful traditional model till date, which is the banking model in the financial service industry, it works on taking money as deposits and paying a certain interest rate, and then giving that money as loans and charging a certain interest rate, and the money comes in on the NIM, which is the net interest margin. So this is the margin on which the bank is making money. And as the payments business started getting commoditized or the margins started going down, lending is a place which really shot up. Now, as a base of all this, you would see that KYC plays a large role, because if you want to acquire a customer and service a customer for a fintech, the biggest cost that they can see, in addition to once they have developed the platform, is first acquiring the customer, second onboarding the customer. Now, onboarding is something which can be really solved by digital KYC. That's why parallelly, as the payment ecosystem grew and the lending ecosystem came into play and started growing, KYC, which was launched in India, which is a digital KYC, played a large role. And I'll give you an example. Before the digital KYC or digital onboarding came in, onboarding a customer used to take in between a $3 to $5 range. Once the digital KYC went up, it came down to about 50 cents. That means on 50 cents, you can actually onboard a customer. That reduced both the cost and the time to acquire a customer for all the fintech players. And you see the lending really shot up, and it started with P2B lending on their own books. Then people also became marketplaces, where there are marketplaces where the traditional lenders come in, they acquire the customer as marketplaces, and then this data is passed on to traditional lenders, and the traditional lenders can also lend using the data, which is the traditional credit score data, and also the data which is the alternate data. And I'll start giving you examples of the alternate data. I know of a company, not only in India, but I've seen this for UK as well, which if you want to take a loan, you have to download an app on your phone. Once you download the app, and this was for Android, not for iPhone at the point of time, and India as a region, and including many developing nations, Android base is pretty large. This app then, and it takes your consent, then after the consent goes through your SMSs, goes through your location data, goes through the different apps that you have established, goes through your call records, and establishes alternate data. For example, if you are someone who generally does not call back, right? You get a lot of calls, but do you never call back, you miss calls, then it is a small red alert. Of course, it is not in individuality, but it is one of the factors. Second is, because it is your location data, normally people will have only two main locations, primary location, right? One is their home, one is their office. Now, if the location data of his office or the home address do not match the data that was filled in the form, that's another red alert. The next one is, when it goes through your SMS, it is reading the expense pattern that you have, right? Because every time you swipe a card or you make a payment, digital payment, you get an SMS. So it is understanding how the way you spend money, but also if you are on a job, you also get SMSs of your salaries. So it also gets an estimate of what your salary might be per month. And based on that, it also does analysis of where it should peg you in terms of risk. And subsequently, it impacts the interest that will be charged to you, and whether they will give a loan to you or not. Right? And in this, every model has come in. It started at retail, as I said, but then it has gone into SMEs as well. And alternate data is being used for all those mechanisms. You have companies which are payday loans. That means they are lending for like 30 days to 45 days. There are companies which are, say, lending for 90 odd days. There are people who are lending on their own books. That means it is their own money that they are lending out. Some are becoming a marketplace. So they're acquiring customer from someone else. They're servicing the customer as well. But on the back, the money is coming from a traditional bank or financial institution. And then you have invoice discounting, for example, where the invoice is placed and that is discounted. So second wave, so to say, it has been lending, not only in India, it's just an example, but you take UK, you take US, you take the Singapore region, you take other developed markets, and you will see that lending has been the next wave which has come in, because that's where there's a lot of money to be made once you have access to data, right? The next one, and I call this a very, very funny thing, because whenever disruption starts, and it's a trend you can see across any startup trend or any other startup ecosystem you would have seen, it starts with unbundling. That means there are providers that do everything, and you will have players coming in, which will pick up components of what the player does and start providing it. right? Because in this case, if you see, the bank do provide payment services, the bank do provide lending, the bank do provide wealth management services, and the bank do provide other services as well. And there are insurance companies which also sell insurance, right? And banks sell that insurance for them as well. But if you see, the companies started coming in and they took away some payments, some people started doing lending separately. But what is now happening in developed market is there are so many players and the market is so diverted and so much integration is required. Now is the age of where the platform players are coming in. Now these platform players are coming with a offering which helps the other fintech players to launch other fintech feature or products. And I'll give you an example. Suppose you have a product which is a banking product, but you are doing a banking or neo banking service where you take deposits and maybe provide loans. But in addition to that, you would launch a card. Now there are companies which will manage everything for you as far as card management and card release and everything is concerned. You have to just integrate to them and the card, and they will bring in the scheme operator, which means a MasterCard or a Visa. You can tie up with a bank, and in partnership with them, they allow you to launch a card. So that entire company has come into picture only to enable other fintech players and other players who want to get into the business of launching credit cards or a prepaid card or any other card to launch card without a massive capital investment upfront. So it becomes a pay-as-you-go model. Then there are players who are saying that there are so many people providing so many services, let me integrate all that and come to you to manage your entire financial well-being. But the problem then there is not everyone can do that. That means in the middle, you need someone who can integrate with everyone, and then you integrate with that one company and yet get access to all the service provider within the ecosystem. That's where you have companies like Setu in India's case, but Played in the US case, which was acquired by Visa for a massive amount, comes in because that's a platform play. And for a scheme operator, platform is extremely important because what is a scheme, right? What is a Visa or a MasterCard? Finally, they are platforms. They are platforms which run card system, card networks. They take care of everything regarding running of the cards, and then you take care of the business. And anything which is becoming another connector, so to say, and a platform would be very interesting to them. And that's why the reason why Visa went ahead and acquired Played for a massive amount. So I just wanted to highlight how the journey has been and how the impact has been continuously growing. And there are some things which governments have done which are really solving for things. And I'll start giving examples. Say you are a fintech. You launch a product that actually competes with a bank. But if you look at the bank, one advantage the bank has that for the customers the bank has a very deep understanding of their customer, which is a data or an information you do not have. That means if you want to even give a loan to a customer, what you will ask for is a bank statement so that you understand what he earns, what has been earning been, which the bank anyways has access to. So there are again innovations which are coming in, which will connect to all these players and enable you to extract that data, get that data based on customer consent. Because finally, the data doesn't belong to the bank, which is a big change in mindset, which is happening in the European region, in India, in the ASEAN region as well, is that the bank which a financial institution has is the data of the customer. So the ownership of that data is not of the financial institution. The ownership of data is of the customer because it is my data. It is data about my account. It is data about my transactions. So it should be up to me to decide whom I want to share that data with. And no one should stop me from doing that. And that is going to lead to a lot more innovation. So that's the latest and the biggest innovation happening world over. If you look at the fintech landscape, which is the platform plays and enabler play, which is coming in. Now, what I'll do is before I get into specific business model, jump to spending some time at looking at the fintech landscape or the investment landscape as far as the specific region is concerned. Now, if you look at it and we look at the global market as well, and you look at the region, it pretty much replicates what we have seen as far as the global funding goes. It was really rising fast for many years now. It started really small, of course, but it was rising really fast. But COVID has had an big and massive impact as far as the total funding is concerned. I would say actually we were expecting worse in the industry, but it has not been worse, but it has still been an impact. And if you see the gray part is an extension that is a projection based, and it's a linear projection that we have done based on the funding that data that we have till now. And even if you look at both the value of funding and the number of rounds, it has actually come down for 2020. which was growing at a rapid pace for last many years. Right from 2013 is what I've placed that data here. And just as a correction, this funding primarily includes only equity funding. So I've not included the debt funding or a grant funding or a post IPO or a ICO funding in this. It's primarily equity funding data that I have. Now, if we go deeper into the data of saying, okay, this is the overall funding, but what is the internal trend to it? How does the things look like? And if you look at it, the amount of per stage investment is looked at, and you look at the stage wise investment on the chart number 1, and then you look at the number of rounds as well. The risk capital, which was earlier also massive in a very early stage, has slightly decently shifted towards more mature companies. It is actually indication of two things. One is because of COVID, people have become a little risk averse, but that's not the only reason. The second is also that the ecosystem is maturing. That means there are more mature startups available, which can take a large amount of funding. So their funding stage is higher. So that means a lot of funding is going there as well. So it is a combination of both. So it is not all doom and gloom. It's a combination. So it is one on the hand that for 2020, the people have become slightly risk averse. But other thing is, you would say on the 19 as well, the situation looks similar. The reason is that the overall ecosystem in MENA and the quality of the startup has matured. So the amount of funding is growing in that direction as well. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see on the orange, what we have placed is the average ticket size that we have placed. And if you look at till 2019, the average ticket size for brand new companies, that means this is their first round that they have raised, was growing, and it was $3.4 million last year. But this year it has gone down to $0.3 million, and which shows that the new funding for this year at least looks like slightly dampened. The count is not that bad. So the number of funding rounds are fine, but the average ticket size has gone down for this year. So that's the primary trend that we see overall. If you look at it, the mega rounds, of course, have also come down, which is on the left-hand side corner bottom that you see. For last year, if you see, there were 6 mega rounds. So mega rounds are really massive rounds for late-stage companies. But this year, there have been only 3, which is in line with the overall journey which has been. So I would say, yes, COVID has put a dampener to it. But yeah, the market is also maturing. And we see this coming back pretty fast next year or late next year. And if you look at looking at the median deal size, it will give us a clue, or give you a clue of what has been average deal size, so to say, for each stage. So the seed level seeds, the deal size has been around $775,000 US is that range. The minimum has been, of course, 10K. The maximum goes to over $13 million, and the average ticket size has pretty much for last 3 years has been around between 1.5 million to 1.4 million. And sorry, a correction, it is median deal size and not the average deal size. On the Series A, it has been around $6 million overall. This year, Series A has seen $11 million round as well. Last year, 12 million was what was the average deal size for last year. Right. Same for Series B, it has been about $12.9 million, and late stage it has been $96 million. The late stage mostly has been seen where large companies, which may not be based off the region, have been funded, or the deal has happened within the region, and that also gets incorporated in this data. That's why you also see a decently large round as well, and an exception in 2018, which was $266 million there. So that's how the median deal size and the trend has been. So overall, when you look at the median deal size, the trend has been consistent. It has not been varying a lot, except maybe in some cases 2016 or 2018, where there was a standout in case of a late stage in 2018 and 2015, the seed stage, which was slightly more higher than what generally seems to be the trend overall. Right. I also wanted to showcase the number of counts or the number of companies that have been funded, the amount which has gone in each of those range. And if you see, the number of counts will always be very high on the lower side of scale, but the overall value tend to be smaller because these are smaller ticket size, and on the upper side you will have fewer companies but very large sizes, which is clearly depicted here. But it seems like on a very early stage there is a lot of action, and then there is a lot of action on the $100 million plus kind of range, where we see between $50 to $100 million. It is as if maybe not a lot of companies look for funding and are going for it. So there is a very high demand or request for funding till $50 million, and then from $100 million onwards, it again picks up, because that's where you are looking for scale. You really need money to scale up your organization and grow very, very fast. And in earlier panel, as someone said, that growth is what attracts both the investors and good talent. And that's where the growth comes in, and you need capital for growth. Which is being done and that. Now, this is very interesting. If you are an investor, that this gives you a view in how the investment funnel looks like, and extremely important, right? Because if you look at it, the number of companies which have got funded at the top level is about 1,502, the total number of companies that have got funded, out of which how many of them actually got funded is 22%. So out of the 100% companies that were founded, 22% of them actually got funding. And the next round, which is Series A, out of that, only 6%, of the 100%, only 6% were able to raise the next round, right? And generally, the difference between getting the first round to getting the Series A was about 15 months. And from that 6%, only 3% reached the Series B stage and 2% Series C. And if you look at the duration, it was about 20 months and 21 months. What I would say is, within the region, it seems like the funding duration between two rounds is slightly on a higher side compared to slightly more developed markets. But that's how it seems to be growing. And this is extremely important to know if you are an investor, because you really want to have a view on that. If you are trying to invest in the fintech segment, you really need to have a view on how many companies that do you expect to really make money for you at the end of the day, which of course is anyways aligned overall funnel wise from the standard VC ethos of saying only say 10% of their investment would make money out of the 100 that they invest in. So that's the clear view that I wanted to highlight. And if you look at the number of companies getting killed or something else happening, it is a large number. But that's the entrepreneurship world, right? So the funnel looks like the way we have presented. And if you look at the exits, there are IPOs which have happened, about 11 IPOs. There are acquisitions which are about 37 acquisitions that happen. So acquisition seems to be the main way of exits which have been there, or funding at the late stage round where early stage investors exit by giving their equity to late stage funders. So that's how the funnel looks like, and the trend has been for the funding. Now, this is a list I wanted to share of the main and very active venture capital and private equity firms in the fintech segment in the last 5 years. I think it's an important data to know which are the investors who have a fintech thesis, right? And because they have a fintech thesis and that's an area they are focusing on, these are the companies that you can approach if you're looking for funding in the fintech segment. So if you're a fintech and looking for funding, these are some of the companies that you can look at. And if you look at them, many of them are actually global leaders who are also operating in the region. If you look at Sequoia is there, you have Axion, which is playing in the region. You have Santander Innoventures, which is a corporate venturing arm of Santander Bank. So you also have Index Ventures, you have Pitango Ventures, you have General Atlantic on the late stage, Warburg Pincus as a private equity, SoftBank as well. So you have really world-renowned investors from venture capital world and private equity, both of them playing in the region and are interested and looking for investments in the region for good companies. Now, one view I wanted to showcase, also another angle or a lens that I would bring is we have till now, when we were looking at MENA region and the funding within that, primarily looked at from the point of how much money has been flowing in, what stage it has been flowing in. So I also wanted to spend some time on looking at the business models that have attracted the maximum amount of money. Now the rank, don't take it that too seriously, but what you can take it very, very seriously is what the top models have been, business models have been. And I'll go one by one. The first one, if you see, is the property insurance model, which is a renter's insurance or content insurance or any of those general insurance or PNC insurance, so as to say, is a market which has seen a lot of traction in this space, right? The next one is the transaction monitoring, because as the digital payments market has grown, the fraud prevention, security, and transaction monitoring becomes extremely important, right? And that is the region it has attracted a massive amount of funding. The next one is security, and it is connected to the first one, as I said, because fraud intelligence, transaction monitoring, security takes a high importance, and that's why that has seen a lot of investment there. Now, another trend that we have been seeing, which is connected, is a lot of SMEs, and some part of impact is COVID as well, are at a very rapid pace digitalizing. That is, they are becoming digital. And when they want to become digital, one of the solutions that they're looking for is payroll, right? And that's why a lot of payroll solutions have attracted a lot of money, because within the payroll you can also have expense management system. You have cards, expense cards that can be given to your customer, your employees, and then it can take care of the salaries, bonuses, and everything. And on that you can build more, and also provide them lending solution as well. So payroll solution has been one other market which has attracted good amount of funding. The next one is mobile wallets, and this includes both kind of wallets. It is the traditional wallet and also cryptocurrency wallets. And as I said, any market which is slightly fresh and slightly in a nascent stage, payments is the part where it grows, and wallet has been the first piece that generally picks up in the payment space as well. So that is the one which is growing in many regions within the MENA segment and has seen wallets. And whenever there is a wallet and you see wallet bottom as well, lending is not far behind. So lending is another segment which is attracting a lot of capital, so to say, right? This one, the eighth one, is very interesting because, as I said, a lot of SMEs are digitalizing, and COVID has had an impact. That means there is a demand for capital for the SME guy and for the buyer as well. Because capital is tight, people have lost jobs in some cases, and situation is very, very difficult. And from that angle, if you see a marketplace or a center is getting created where at the point of buying, you as a customer can opt for buy now, pay later. That means you buy right now and the merchant gets paid by your provider, which is the fintech, but you pay to the fintech later when you have money. And you would tell me that, oh, this sounds very similar to what credit card does. Yes, but credit card has a dependency on the form factor. That means you need to have a credit card. Second, that even if you are using a digital solution, right, or making credit card payment, you need to have that alternate data to make a justification or understanding of whether I can lend to this customer or not. And third is the credit card penetration is not that deep, right? In many of the countries within the region as well, there is a limited credit card penetration which exists. So this becomes a alternate model. So as a buyer, as I said, who needs capital, I come in, I buy my essentials at a SME store or bakhala, as we call in the region in many countries, and my payment is done by my wallet, which is in reality a short-term loan, and I can pay back that loan as soon as I have money, and it's a limited period one. It could be 30 day, 45 day, and there could be zero interest as well, right? I get only charged a fine if I do not pay back my buy now, pay later, which is called BNPL globally in many markets. If I do not pay within the time range which is provided, which in credit card case is 45 days, in this case it could be 30 days or 45 days, then I need to pay a fine. It has been extremely important and beneficial from that part, right? The second is when I'm doing this data and there is a cost which is enabled on that, and there's another model which is coming where I pay with a credit card or pay with my debit card or pay with something, and my payment gets converted immediately into an EMI. That means in some cases I have a credit card or I have a wallet and I make a payment with that. So the payment directly goes to the merchant at real time, but that gets converted an EMI to me. This is for large buying, right? That means it could be a electronic item that you definitely need at home. Your refrigerator stopped working or your AC stopped working. You will need to buy, but the capital is not there. So use that. So that is where the EMI conversion happened at the POS. I'm not saying submitting a document, they telling you whether you can provide, they can provide you a loan or not, a lender or no. You go to the POS, you make a payment, immediately that gets converted to an EMI. When I am doing all this at a very, very smart POS, the data is getting captured, which gives an idea to multiple companies of saying what is the earning or revenue of the SME guy. Now, as I said, if you remember earlier, a lot of SMEs do not get access to capital because they do not have the credit history or a credit score for them to get capital. Now, this is an alternate data. This is an actual data of the amount of money that the merchant earns as a cash flow within his shop. And when you have access to the cash flow data, I think it is a more accurate estimation of what is the risk that you can take on this particular SME and provide a working capital loan. Again, extremely important because of the situation as well, because working capital is a lifeblood of any SME, and SME is a lifeblood of any economy. from that perspective, this becomes an alternate data based on which companies are lending. So it's a model to do that as well, right? The other is loan comparison platforms, which is pretty obvious because not, as I said, everyone is lending on their own books, and then there are multiple loan providers, and sometimes it could just become very difficult for a customer to understand where they should apply for loan. And these are comparison platforms which will bring in offering from all the loan providers at a single place for a merchant or a customer to look at it and say, okay, I want to take so much loan, who is providing me the best interest rate and who is providing me the best amount of loan that they can provide to me. So those are the main business models, if you see, within the region that have done really, really well from funding perspective, right? Now, since you have looked at the business model, what I want to do and spend some time upon is, as I said in the start as well, that we'll do some amount of crystal gazing to say that, okay, these are the business model, how have they progressed in another market and what has happened. Now, how to read this. Now, you look at it on the left-hand side, the blue ones are the different markets that we spoke about, right? You have the lending, you have the wealth management, you have the insurance market, you have the payments market, you have the regulatory market, and then you have the platforms. The easy way to think about this is just think about what can you do with money. You can borrow money, you can pay with the money, you can invest the money, right? Or you can use the money to protect yourself, which is insurance, right? That's all you can do with the money, and that's how we break the market down as well, right? Now, here, every orange box that you see is a market that is becoming crowded. So it's a very, very competitive space in that market. Everything that you see green is a market where are either no players or limited players. So it is a market where there is still a opportunity existing. And this is in fact a diagram created by a leading venture capital investor, global venture capital investor for India, right? Now, if you look at it and just you focus on lending, you have P2P lending, which is nearly crowded in the market. You have personal loans. These were the first guy which came in, which provide loans to individuals, right? Then you have education loan, which is now picking up. You have gold loan, which is very unique, specifically for India and for other countries where gold is looked at as an investment by many people. So when they are in need of money, they mortgage the loan or the gold and take money. And a loan which is being provided, which is secured against a gold, is a loan which will always have a very small or no delinquency, right? Because you have it is a secured loan. So that way, gold loan is doing really well. And then you have payday loans, which again has become crowded now, but it started some time back, of course, as I said. And then there is POS credit. POS credit is the buy now, pay later kind of credit, or the EMI credit that I was talking about. And it is a big competition, so to say, that the credit card companies will have, because in this case, there is no form factor and people are still getting a 30-day period or 45-day credit period exactly that they used to have with a credit card, right? So that's the lending space and how it has been maturing. If you look at the wealth space, you have the robo-advisors, which is a space where because a wealth manager is extremely costly. There are many people who want to invest but want a smart advice, not at a very, very high cost. So that's where the robo-advisors come in. It is an algorithm which provides you advice as to where you should invest and how you should manage your own money. And then there are zero brokerages which help you invest in stocks, but the brokerage is absolutely zero for a normal retail customer. And those have become crowded but have had a massive growth, as so to say. Then you have insurance, as I said, insurance marketplaces and digital insurance company. Echo, as I say, is a digital insurance company, have got good growth because they are acquiring customers digitally, and there are new ideas coming in. For example, invisible insurance. That means you are buying insurance, but you don't know you are buying insurance. And the example would be you are booking a flight, you have completed booking of the flight, and there is just one small checkbox that comes, says, would you like to insure your flight for 20 rupees or say $1? It's just a checkbox. You're not filling up forms, you're not going to someone, you're not going to a different seller. Within the website where you're buying a ticket, there is just a checkbox. You check that box and buy your ticket, and your insurance is done at the same time. How it is happening is there is a digital insurance company which has provided an API to this airline booking company, which gets integrated into the entire flow. So the insurance buying experience becomes invisible. So you're buying insurance, but you don't know you're buying insurance, or you don't even think about it separately. And that is happening to the entire financial services industry as well. Because slowly the effort is that you should be able to use financial services, but you should not know that you're using a financial service. Just your financial need should get serviced. That means you're making a payment. It should be so smooth that you do not realize that you actually made a payment, because no one goes to a shop to make payment. They go to a shop to buy something, take something. Payment is just a closure of that deal. And as we realize, sometimes we spend more time making the payment, drawing out cards, swiping the cards, machine board not working, and all that thing, than actually finding something that I want for myself and taking it. So that's the thing that most of the payment companies are also trying to solve. That's the payment part which comes in. And remittance plays a big role within India, and it is a big market for the region as well, considering the large expat community that exists within the region. So similar to India, that I expect to be a large market in that space as well. And it's a very, very difficult problem for B2C, which is the retail market, and also B2B, which is a low volume, but very, very high value kind of market. Then you have tax assistance and credit score. As I said, these companies are helping traditional companies and other fintechs to use alternate data to establish what the credit score or credit worthiness of a customer is, and then based on that data, people can lend to them. And I spoke about neobanks, which are operating in different manner. In some cases, neobanks are getting license. That means there is a digital bank license, and that is the case if you look at Philippines, you look at Singapore, you look at Hong Kong. These are the markets where you have dedicated licenses. In some markets, what is happening is some fintechs are integrating with traditional banks, and they are becoming the interface for the customer with a new age user interface, new age experience, new age offerings, and the banks still maintain the banking licenses and are the providers to those services. Right? So that's how the B2C market looks like. What I wanted to show was, this is important to look at, because if you look at any market, it has gone from payments to lending to the platform play. And I thought it would make sense for me to show you how the Indian market has progressed, which markets have become really competitive, which markets are still places where the competition is still going on. And it enables you to add features or remove features or plan out your journey for your product as well, for the fintech product that you are planning to build. And you also know which are the models that have attracted maximum amount of funding in other markets. And that learning may enable you to maybe just position your product or offering differently. The next one is, I wanted to paint a similar picture in the B2B market space as well. And I'm going to go slightly at a faster pace on this, considering we are coming close to the amount of time we have also. But I'll keep the last 5 minutes for Q&A. If you, again, still right now also have questions, there is a chat box. Please feel free to post your questions there. So if you look at the lending, SME market, you see is a lot of green. And as I said, retail is the first one to get very, very competitive. But the SME segment is a difficult market, but a highly sticky market that is normally catered to by companies slightly later. If you look at the lending, you have invoice discounting, which has really got captured very fast. But it is a very great, it's a great space to be in, because you have an invoice which is approved by the buyer, which in generally case is a large buyer. And think of it, say, it's a small SME servicing, say, a Lululemon or Lulu supermarket, and they raise an invoice on Lulu. Lulu approves the invoice to make a payment in, say, 90 days. But the SME wants the payment now because it's a working capital requirement. But they know that the payment is going to come because Lulu has approved the invoice. And that's the invoice they can put in the market, and people can decide to lend for that invoice at a whatever discount that they want to offer. And later, when the Lulu pays, the payment directly goes to the lender. And that's the invoice discounting space. And it's a secured form of lending in the SME space, which is doing really well. Then you have the SME secured and unsecured space, again, a great market. The trick is to identify which are the right SMEs to lend to by understanding the creditworthiness of those particular SMEs. Then you have collections, which will always be a evergreen market because it is easy to lend. The trick is, and the success of a lending business depends upon how good are you at collecting that. And then there are some lending models which are very specific to agricultural market, which are coming in, which is a big space to be really exploited and understood and served, because agriculture forms a backbone of any economy, so to say. Then you have the wealth space, as I was talking about, the payroll, the treasury, the cap market. These are services that are provided not only to your own employees, but internally as well for organizations. They would need to manage their own treasury function as well. And that's the area that is not catered to. Again, the insurance space is an insurance space which either could be for the employees of the SMEs, or it could be for the companies themselves, for say a property and casualty kind of insurance product that are getting offered to them. Then you have payments, and I've spoken about payments at length, and these are B2B payment services or the POS services that are being offered to them. POS was very, very hot some time back. It has become, it became very competed or over competitive space, but now it has again become green because there is value added POS segment which is coming in, which is not just a machine where you go tap and just make the payment, but it provides more services beyond it, both to the buyer and to the merchant. Then you have the accounting and reconciliation part. With the rise of e-commerce, there were solutions that were required to smoothen up that journey, because if you think, whenever you make a payment on an e-commerce, you may decide, say, 3 payment options to be used, right? You may also have some loyalty points. You may also use other services that are required. On the merchant side, he will see one sale of, say, an iPhone, but for that iPhone, he will have 4 or 5 transactions or 6 transactions that are there. And then there is money in the account, and he wants to really sync between what his inventory has been, where the payment has come in, and make a reconciliation. So that's another space which is coming in. Another very, very interesting space across the world that we have seen now is an accounting solution for SME. The focus is, for a Wakalah or a small SME, you offer a small mobile-based accounting solution, and that accounting solution becomes everything for that SME. And you get access to his transaction data, based on which then later you can start doing working capital loans or other lending services to the merchant. Then last is the platform play, which I was talking about. These are platforms which integrate with other services provider for offering these to the customers, which are SME and B2B customers in this case, or these are providers which help others provide certain amount of services to their own B2B customers. So they become the pipelines, so to say, for them to enable themselves to provide those services. So I think that was all that I had from my point of view to share with you from the perspective of what the fintech investment trends have been in MENA, but also what are the different models globally that are emerging, how they have grown, where they are progressing, and how they have really transformed and changed, and which provides you a roadmap or a crystal gazing activity look in the future for your market as well, and restructure your journey and make it in a way where you see more traction from investors as well, and there's a better understanding from investors as well, and that helps you in your journey. Thank you very much for your time. I'll take a pause if there are any questions and hand it over back to our MC to take you through the next remaining part of the day today.